Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto returned to Konoha after years of training and complete his revenge. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. In an isolated room in a separate wing of the Konoha hospital, two Anbu ninjas stood guard outside a sealed door. The room was reserved for treating ninja from other villages that had been captured. Footsteps alerted the two Anbu on guard that someone was approaching. A fellow Konoha ninja dressed in the standard ninja uniform came into their line of sight. He had silver hair, and the bottom half of his face was covered by a mask, as well as his forehead protector over his left eye. Kakashi-sama. Both the Anbu said as they stood aside, releasing the seal on the door. Kakashi entered the room alone and closed the door behind him. The room was by no means spacious. All it had was a single bed, and a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling was the only light source. There were no windows. Lying on the bed, staring up at the light bulb was a young Konoha ninja. He was dressed in all white, a sign that he was a patient. With his hands atop his spiky hair, he sat up to look at the man who just entered the room. "Things aren't looking good, Sasuke," Kakashi admitted. The Uchiha just stared at him, not responding. "Naruto is in a coma and doesn't look like he is going to wake up anytime soon," Kakashi continued. "That idiot, if he only stayed in the village," Sasuke mumbled. "We both know that there would have been no force great enough in Konoha to stop him from going after you. His body isn't healing as fast as it should," Kakashi explained. A pregnant silence developed between student and teacher, neither of them wanting to admit fault over the events that transpired recently. With his left hand trembling, the young Uchiha balled his hand into a fist. He clenched so hard as began to draw blood from his palm. After their brief talk, Kakashi exited the room and began walking towards the main wing of the hospital. Making his way to intensive care unit, he found the door he was looking for. A guilty look emanated from his one visible eye. Reaching anxiously for the door handle, he finally entered the room. This room was much bigger and looked like a proper hospital room. "Sakura," he said. He was expecting to see a certain pink-haired genin watching over the patient, but she wasn't there. Lying unconscious on the bed under a heap of blankets was a spiky-haired blonde boy. His face had several bandages. Looking on, Kakashi could only imagine how severe his injuries were. Slowly he approached his bed, a burning sensation creeping across his body. Grabbing at the left side of his neck in pain, he stopped. A cloud of smoke materialized and Kakashi disappeared and Sasuke appeared. The Uchiha found a black substance beginning to spread across his body. Feeling himself being engulfed by rage, he stumbled away from the blonde boy. Trying to regain control, he felt a powerful hit connect with his gut. Falling on his knees, Sasuke began to cough up blood as he spat out the crimson liquid. The rage, as well as the black marking, resided. Looking up from his ground position, that he couldn't believe it. His friend, who was supposed to be in coma, was awake and standing over him. But something was off. Naruto was dressed in the same white hospital clothes as Sasuke, but the Uchiha could see something was wrong. Naruto's once blue eyes were now red with singles black slit like her eyes. "I could sense the hate in your heart," Naruto barked. "Just because you're still alive after our battle doesn't mean you can lecture me on anything," Sasuke retorted. "Our battle never finished," Naruto continued, his voice filled with something malevolent. "The loser thinks he can beat me," Sasuke rebutted, this time activating his fully developed Sharingan. After the Uchiha picked himself up, a staring contest between the Sasuke Sharingan and Naruto's Nine-Tails eyes began. With his hand on his gut, Sasuke stepped forward until he was nose to nose with Naruto. Using his superior speed and the fact Naruto was injured, Sasuke disappeared and reappeared behind Naruto. He used his left arm to put the blonde ninja in a headlock. The Uchiha heir used the knuckles of his right hand to press against the back of Naruto's head in back and forth motion. "This isn't funny," Naruto screamed as he struggled against Sasuke. His eyes were back to their natural shade of blue. Releasing the blonde from his grip, Sasuke jumped onto the hospital bed. He was different, something about the fight with his rival and friend had changed him. Instead of the usual depressed look, he was smiling. "It's good to see this, Sasuke. It's been a long time since he was around," Naruto commented as he tried to stretch his aching back. "Don't hurt yourself, kid. Tomorrow at noon. Meet on the roof. We're going to finish the battle." That Kakashi stopped, Sasuke said, jumping off the bed and walking to the door. Unlike the last time Sasuke made this challenge, his voice was calm. It wasn't filled with spite, jealousy or hatred. "Don't forget your forehead protector," Naruto laughed, pointing to his forehead on to realize his was missing. The hyperactive ninja began to frantically search around the room for the forehead protector that his sensei had given to him when he was made a genin. With a small laugh, Sasuke left the room, satisfied that his teammate had survived the battle. When the slammed shut, Naruto cast a hand seal and yelled Shadow Clone Jutsu. 3 exact copies of himself appeared next to him, a puff of smoke. With 4 people helping the search, they tore the hospital room apart, searching for his cherished possession. When the entire room was wrecked, the door crept open. Standing in the doorway was an attractive blonde woman. She wore a green robe with the kanji for gamble written in black on the back, inside a red circle. Underneath she wore a grey kimono-style blouse with no sleeves, held closed by a broad dark bluish-grey obi that matches her pants. Her blouse was closed quite low, revealing her ample cleavage. The look sheer joy plastered her face as she saw the young blonde ninja running around the room. The look of joy was soon replaced by one of annoyance when she realized that he had torn apart the entire room. "I can explain," he said as his shadow clones turned to smoke. The older woman didn't respond, instead she just embraced him, a hug that crushed him. "You're supposed to be resting," she cried softly. In a small dimly lit room 3 elderly people were gathering. The first was an old man with a cane. He had black shaggy hair and his right eye was bandaged. He had an X-shaped scar on his chin. It was a very old scar because there are signs of it healing over time. He wore a white shirt with a brown robe over top of it covering from his feet to just over his right shoulder. The second was another old man. He had gray hair, a beard and glasses. It was unclear why, but he had a frown on his face. His entire body was covered by a grayish robe. The third was an old woman. Her hair was pulled back in a twin bun locked by a traditional Japanese hairpin with 2 pearls dangling off the side. She was wearing a simple long kimono, closed by an obi, a jacket and a sash over it. "Anzo Shimura, code word Hogo no Cage, shadow of protection," the first man said. "Amura Midokado, code word Fuck Napiero, unhappy clown," the second man added. "Behara Udatane, code word Burendo Shinjitsu, blind truth," the woman said. A short silence followed before the leader of the 3 spoke up. "Good, now that we've confirmed that we are who we say we are, the meeting can begin," Danzo announced softly. "What is the meaning of this?" Kaharu asked, a bit ticked off. "I believe this has to do with the 9 tails," Homura theorized. "Nothing gets past you." I read Sasuke's and Naruto's versions of the events that transpired at Final Valley. The 9 tails brat was reluctant to admit it, but from what we can gather from the Uchiha's report, there came a point where Naruto called on the 9 tails strength to stop Sasuke. Danzo explained. "That is indeed troubling," Kaharu noted, nodding her head. "I don't see the problem. If he can truly control the power of the 9 tails, then he would be a great asset for the village." Homura pondered out loud. "If we allow that power to be controlled by the brat, then we are all doomed. I've watched him his whole life and seen the suffering he has endured within the walls of this village. The rage inside him is building like a dam that will one day burst and unleash the fury of the 9 tails upon us," Danzo answered. "Not to mention his bond with the Uchiha is troubling. If Sasuke can master his Sharingan, he may be able to take control of the 9 tails and turn its power on Konoha," Kaharu added. "Our past actions would one day catch up with us. That is the nature of karma," Homura commented as he dropped his head in shame. "The past will stay in the past. I have a plan to rid us of the brat and obtain the perfect weapon," Danzo said with an evil grin over his normally emotionless face. On top of the hospital roof waited a young blonde boy. He was wearing an orange tracksuit. The tracksuit had blue areas on the upper shoulders as well as around the waist and a white swirl with a tassel on the left side. The tracksuit had a red swirl on the back of the jacket, a large white collar, orange pants, blue sandals. He had on a blue forehead protector that was given to him by his sensei. As he paced around, another young boy appeared. He had spiky black hair. He was wearing a blue, short-sleeved shirt with a raised collar and the Uchiha crest on the back and wide arm warmers with white shorts and black sandals. "I see you didn't chicken out, Naruto," Sasuke taunted as he tied on his forehead protector. "I can't let you go walking around the village thinking you beat me, the next Hokage," Naruto said, pointing to himself with his thumb. "I owe you one for this," Sasuke said as he pointed to the deep scratch across his forehead protector. "You can try, but I doubt you will," Naruto smirked. "Let's make this fair. This will be just a plain Taijutsu battle. We'll just do the talking with our fists. According to Kakashi, you're in no condition to be casting any jutsus." Sasuke laughed. "I won't use my Sharingan. Before you said that you had a chance of beating me, but now you don't," Naruto said before rushing at Sasuke. Throwing a right punch, Naruto completely missed because he was off balance. He had still not fully recovered, was suffering from pain in his legs. Sasuke grabbed Naruto's right arm and locked it in an armbar. "I guess once a clown always a clown," Sasuke laughed. "I'll show you who the clown is," Naruto said as he broke free with sheer strength. Sasuke jumped away before charging in and attempting low sweep. Naruto back flipped away but ended up landing on his head. "You're too beat up to fight," Sasuke muttered as he walked over to help Naruto up. As Sasuke picked up the blonde ninja, he sensed something incoming. Quickly he tossed Naruto aside, saving him from being hit by 3 medical needles. The needles embedded themselves in the concrete on impact. Naruto and Sasuke both realized that they were surrounded. There were 10 people, all wearing porcelain animal masks that concealed their identities. The rest of their bodies were covered by black cloaks. These weren't ordinary Anbu. Naruto and Sasuke could tell they were in trouble. The Uchiha activated his Sharingan when he released Naruto wouldn't be able to fight at his best. One of the 10 mystery ninja appeared in front of them holding a scroll. Sasuke stared at the scroll unsure of what the person was planning. Naruto gathered up his chakra as he prepared to call upon his shadow clone technique. His attention was broken by the sound of Sasuke falling over. Naruto's eyes grew wide as he saw 2 needles in the back of Sasuke's neck. The man with scroll was a diversion. Naruto's eyes changed from blue to red as he felt the 9 tails take control. Then he blacked out. "Wake up, you idiot." Naruto opened his eyes to see Sasuke clutching the back of his neck. They were still on the roof and the 10 strangers were all unconscious. "I don't know how you did it, but you did," Sasuke said as he extended his free hand to help Naruto up. "Are they?" Naruto asked, unsure if he wanted the answer. "Don't worry, you idiot. They're alive. We need to get out of here now," Sasuke said as he jumped off the roof to another building followed by Naruto. "Lady Hokage." Kaharu screamed as she burst into the Hokage office. "Shizune, I thought I told you I didn't want to be disturbed," Tsunade shouted as she quickly hid her sake. The lady with shoulder-length black hair dressed in a long bluish-black kimono with white trimmings, held closed by a wide obi followed Kaharu. "I'm sorry Tsunade-sama, but it's really important," Shizune said with tears in her eyes. Seeing her former student and friend crying, the Hokage realized it must be something important. Naruto and Sasuke were fighting on the roof. Kaharu started explaining. "What?" Tsunade roared, slamming her fist into the desk, breaking it. "As I was saying, to stop a 2 genin from battling, a team of Anbu stepped in. After they subdued Sasuke with a paralyzed needle attack, Naruto lost control and summoned the power of the 9 tails." Kaharu finished. "How bad is it?" Tsunade asked as her throat swelled up. She knew that there are only a few things that could play on Naruto's anger, and his friends getting hurt was one of them. "Of the 11 Anbu who intervened, only 1 is still with us," Kaharu explained. "That can't be true," Tsunade said as she stopped herself from running and killing the old lady. "It is." Naruto and Sasuke fled. They're hiding in the old police station the Uchiha clan used to control. Kaharu piled onto Tsunade's misery. "We have Asuma Sarutobi, Might Guy and Kurenai Yuhi waiting to go in and arrest them. As far as I'm concerned, Naruto is innocent. You tell them not to harm a hair on his head. If he doesn't want to surrender, call me. No one lays a hand on him," Tsunade roared. In the lobby of the abandoned Konoha police, Sasuke and Naruto waited. It was completely empty and decrepit. There was dust and dirt everywhere. "You're in this mess because of me," Sasuke admitted as he sealed the door shut. "What are you talking about?" "Those were enemy ninja out there," Naruto responded. "They were Konoha ninja. They were part of a division I've never heard of, but they were part of Konoha," Sasuke explained. "Why would they be after you?" Naruto asked, confused. "I tried to run away from the village. They were probably sent to arrest me," Sasuke shouted, losing his patience. "Ramit," Tsunade promised. Naruto mumbled under his breath. "People break promises, Naruto," Sasuke replied, activating his Sharingan. "You need to get away from me. You have your dream of being Hokage and getting arrested could ruin that." "What kind of Hokage would I be if I couldn't save one friend?" Naruto smirked as he stood his ground. "Why are you doing this?" Sasuke questioned, perplexed. "You said I was your closest friend, and well, you're my closest friend too," Naruto laughed. Outside the police station, 3 Jonin-level ninja waited. The rest of the building was surrounded by Anbu. The first Jonin, who stood in front of the door, had thick eyebrows and black hair cut in a bowl. He wore a green jumpsuit, orange striped leg warmers and a standard Konoha flak jacket. His forehead protector was on a red cloth and was worn around his waist, like a belt. "Naruto, Sasuke, I know the passion of youth burns brightly in you, so I know you what's right," he cried. Behind him, the other 2 Jonin looked at each other, concerned. The man had brown eyes, short, black spiky hair and a beard. He wore a standard Konoha ninja uniform with the sleeves rolled up halfway. Around his waist was sash that had the kanji for fire. Playing with an unlit cigarette in his mouth, he looked at the woman next to him. She had long black shoulder-length hair and red eyes. She was wearing a red mesh armor blouse with only the right sleeve visible. Over that was very broad material which resembles bandages with a pattern on it, similar to those of rose thorns. Her hands and upper thighs are also wrapped in bandages. "Kurenai, do you think it was a good idea to have Guy talk to them?" he said. "I don't know, Suma. I can't believe Naruto did all those things," she replied. Inside the police station, Naruto and Sasuke could hear a familiar voice screaming about youth and passion. "Oshibrow-sensei, is that really you?" Naruto asked, standing next to the door. "Yes, how could you betray your burning youth, Naruto?" Guy screamed, it sounded like he was crying. "What are you talking about?" Naruto was worried now. "Naruto, those Anbu you fought are all dead. I'm here to arrest you and Sasuke." Guy continued to cry out. The ninja in the bright orange uniform fell to his knees. His body was beginning to go numb. "You're lying," Sasuke screamed. Those Anbu were alive when we left. I saw it with my Sharingan. They were just stunned, none of them were fatally wounded. Sasuke grabbed Naruto's collar as he tried to drag the depressed ninja out towards the secret exit. The Uchiha found it hard as Naruto was practically dead weight. Just as they were at the secret escape route they heard someone shout. Dynamic entry. I burst through the door, breaking Sasuke's weak seal. With Naruto in a state of shock, Sasuke took up a defensive position in front of his friend. As he prepared to take on the Jonin before him the walls to the lobby exploded and the room filled with Anbu. The Anbu were dressed exactly the same as the people who attacked them on the roof. The Anbu began throwing chains at Sasuke. Using his Sharingan he avoided all the chains until he was hit with a swift upper kick that launched him into the air, leaving him in a vulnerable aerial position where the chain easily wrapped around him. The chains began to cut off his chakra, deactivating his Sharingan. After Sasuke was captured, Anbu proceeded to wrap Naruto in similar chains. Naruto, activate your power now. Use your red cloak power. Sasuke screamed as he struggled against chain that was being tightened by the Anbu. Naruto's mind had suffered a sudden breakdown and he couldn't respond to the outside world. 2 days after Naruto and Sasuke were arrested. In a large well-lit room, several of the top officials in Konoha gathered. There were 3 tables all focused around 2 empty seats. The tables were on raised platforms looking down at the seats. Sitting in the middle of the biggest table looking directly at the empty seats was the Hokage, Tsunade. Sitting next to her was the Konoha Council, Hamura Midokado and Kaharu Udatane, as well as her assistant Shizune. In the table to the left of the Hokage were Danzo Shimura and a team of Anburud. Seated at the table to the right of Tsunade were Asuma Sarutobi, Shikaku Nara, Choza Akimichi, Inoichi Yamanaka and Hiyashi Hyuga. The door to the room slowly opened and Naruto and Sasuke were escorted into the room. They both had their legs shackled and were wearing straitjackets that had a chakra-suppressing seal. They were forced to sit in the 2 empty seats in front of everyone. Naruto stared at the ground blankly as Sasuke glared menacingly at everyone. Naruto Uzumaki, you are being charged with 10 counts of murder of Konoha Anbu and 1 count of attempted murder. Sasuke Uchiha, you are being charged with treason and facilitating murder. Kaharu read the charges as she rose from her seat. How do you plead? We're both innocent. Sasuke shouted knowing that Naruto was still mentally blocked. Kaharu took her seat and Danzo rose. It will be my job to present the evidence and the job of the Jonin elite to decide on a verdict. He said as he motioned to the table across his. Asuma tried to light a cigarette as Danzo pointed at him, but Shikaku stopped him. Sasuke Uchiha, in your own words, tell us what happened on the roof of the hospital after you and Naruto Uzumaki fought. Danzo turned the attention to Sasuke. The previous day, Sasuke struggled as he fought against the straitjacket in his small prison cell. Laying on the bed trying to break free, he struggled to call upon his curse seal. Realizing it was hopeless he still continued to struggle. Poor Sasuke. A voice from outside the prison cell called out. Sasuke peered through the iron bars but saw nothing. Just listen, don't say anything. Do you want to know why Naruto is so strong? 12 years ago, a powerful creature known as the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox attacked the village, killing many people. To save the village the 4th Hokage sacrificed his life to seal the demon inside the newborn Naruto Uzumaki. Now Naruto is the living embodiment of that demon. The demon supplies him his strength. If Naruto is found guilty, he will be executed and the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox will need a new host. You being an Uchiha would be perfect. If you gave a testimony convicting Naruto, it'll go a long way in giving you the strength to kill Itachi. We were on the roof when we were attacked. Anbu failed to identify themselves. Naruto fought them off and we left them there alive and well. None of them were dying. Sasuke shouted ignoring his memory. Danzo flinched at the statement but hid it quickly. Fine, lie to us. I have more than enough evidence. First we'll go with some character evidence on Nine-Tailed Demon Fox host. Danzo, you're forbidden to talk about that with Sasuke in the room. Tsunade shouted. Okage-sama, the Uchiha boy, already knows about the demon fox. In his fight against Naruto he saw the demon manifest. Danzo explained. Tsunade wasn't happy and continued to glare at the head of Anburud. A member handed Danzo a file before handing out copies to everyone in the room except Sasuke and Naruto. This is a transcription of a conversation between Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka. Danzo said coldly as he had an Anbu play back a recording. Sakura. A first female voice cried. They arrested Sasuke. What on earth are you talking about, Ino? The second voice responded. My dad told me he was going to be part of a trial involving Naruto and Sasuke. If Naruto is involved it must be his fault. He must have dragged Sasuke down with him. I don't know, didn't Sasuke try to run away from the village? Ino asked. But he came back and Hokage-sama said she would give him another chance. This is just like Naruto to do something irresponsible and get poor Sasuke involved. Sakura answered. They're probably right. Sasuke would never do anything to get himself arrested by Anbu. Naruto is reckless, immature, idiotic and undisciplined. That's what happens when you grow up without parents. He has no boundaries, he thinks he can do anything. Sakura, you can't say things like that. Why not? It's true. Everything I said about Naruto is true. Not that. I meant the parents thing. Sasuke grew up without parents. Sasuke is Sasuke. He is amazing. But now he's in jail. Ino cried. Don't cry, Ino. I'm sure the Hokage will sort things out. After all, she loves that fool Naruto. And when everyone sees that it's Naruto's fault, Hokage-sama will pardon them. Sakura tried comforting her friend. But how do you know it's Naruto's fault? I'm on the same team as him. It's always his fault. Danzo raised his hand signaling the Anbu to stop the recording. Tsunade cursed under her breath at her student. Hamura and Koharu both looked at each other, communicating solely through glances. I hate technology. Sasuke muttered. Is that all? Shikaku asked. You don't expect us to make a verdict based on two girls gossiping. This is just the beginning. Here we have a report written by the Jonin in charge of Team 7. Danzo said as he held up a file. A member of Root handed out copies of the file just like before. This report was based on his first opinion of the team a few days after meeting them. The Jonin elite as well as the Hokage and her council paged through the report reading what Kakashi had written about his team. Tsunade's grip tightened on the file as she read Naruto's review. Danzo cleared his throat as he prepared to read the review. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto has a craving for acknowledgement. In order to feed this craving, Naruto pull pranks to get noticed. He smiles to mask the sadness of his lonely life. Due to the prejudice and loneliness he suffered in his childhood at the hands of the village, his emotional growth has been severely slowed. Tsunade cringed, she knew Danzo was painting the picture of a child who was too irresponsible to handle the power of the nine-tailed demon fox. Even as the Hokage, she couldn't pardon someone over the charge of murder. She believed that Naruto was innocent, but he wasn't talking. Something was wrong with him, he couldn't speak, and now Danzo was making him out to be something he wasn't and he couldn't respond. She prayed that Sasuke would be able to prove Naruto's innocence. After a brief pause, Danzo continued. Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke appears cold, lonely, cynical and arrogant. Sasuke has both superiority and an inferiority complex, as he is unwilling to acknowledge when someone is stronger than him, but obsesses when he believes that they are. He has devoted his life to killing Itachi and in the process declared himself the clan avenger. Danzo, these are serious charges. These reports mean nothing. I want to hear from the surviving Anbu agent. Hiashi demanded. I'm sorry Hiashi, but he is in the Konoha hospital under intensive care. Danzo said. Tsunade didn't like this. If the only witness was still in the hospital, why did Danzo push to have the trial so soon? The boy is a demon in human form. The fourth Hokage created a monster when he sealed the demon fox in Naruto. Danzo accused. That's enough. Tsunade snapped. Tsunade, it's not your place to hamper the prosecution. Koharu scolded. Tsunade held back the urge to beat the living daylights out of the old woman and Danzo. She wanted Naruto to say something in his own defense. Even he knows he is a monster. Why do you think he keeps quiet? Danzo pointed out. The nine-tailed demon fox is linked directly to his anger. When he was approached by the Anbu on the roof, he lost his temper and summoned the demon's power. After all the character bashing, Naruto finally lifted his head. Tsunade was about to smile until she saw the boy's face. His blue eyes had become red and pupils became slit-shaped. Letting out a growl, he showed that his canine teeth grow longer and sharper and his blonde hair grew longer and spikier as it stood on end. If you don't believe me, see for yourself. The boy is tapping into the power of the demon fox. Danzo shouted. The Jonin elite were taken back, the straitjacket was supposed to suppress all chakra. The nine-tailed demon fox should be extracted and placed in a suitable host. Koharu spoke out, much to everyone's surprise. Shizune jumped to hold Tsunade back from killing the old woman. Extracting the nine tails will kill Naruto. Tsunade barked. A fitting punishment. A punishment that Uzumaki and Uchiha will share. Danzo proposed. What say you, Jonin elite? This is crazy. We didn't kill anyone. Sasuke shouted. Shizune struggled to hold back Tsunade as Koharu took over the duty of asking for the verdict. Asuma Sarutobi, head of the Sarutobi clan. She asked. Lighting his cigarette, he paused before he spoke. Guilty. Shikaku Nara, head of the Nara clan. Just like his son, he mumbled about something being troublesome. Guilty. Toza Akimichi, head of the Akimichi clan. With his head bowed in heavy heart and spoke. Guilty. Inoichi Yamanaka, head of the Yamanaka clan. Pulling out a small asphodel flower that symbolized regret, he spoke. Guilty. Hiashi Hyuga, head of the Hyuga clan. Guilty. Was all he said. Tsunade was livid. This wasn't a trial, it was a witch hunt. She couldn't believe the Jonin elite had come up with that verdict. I didn't come back just to die. Sasuke screamed as black marks began spreading across his face. Seeing this, Danzo ordered a member of his Anbu to attack before the Anbu to hit Sasuke. He was blasted away by red chakra. Naruto's body was encased by bubbling chakra, taking on the shape of a one-tailed fox. Using the power of the demon fox he burst free from the straitjacket. The back of Sasuke's straitjacket began to bulge as two hand-shaped wings tore the straitjacket open. But Sasuke taking his curse seal to level 2 and Naruto calling on the demon fox's power, the room filled with Anbu. Tsunade looked on in horror as the boy she thought of like her own blood was being treated like an animal. She wanted to say something, but she knew she wasn't looking at Naruto anymore, she was looking at the nine-tailed fox. Naruto held out his right hand and blue ball of spiraling chakra formed in it. Crouching his knees, Naruto jumped into the air and thrust his arm upwards, using his Rasengan to break through the roof and escape. Sasuke took off with his wings and followed Naruto. After them. Danzo screamed as the Anbu gave chase. Looking at the pile of paperwork stacked on her desk, a blonde woman in a green robe with the kanji for gamble on the back poured some sake. Looking at the small cup she had just poured, she decided to take a big sip straight from the bottle. Her assistant immediately screamed at her actions. She was used to her old friend acting that way whenever she had a drink. 8 years, 8 long years. She slurred her words as the alcohol took effect. Shizune knew what the Hokage meant, she was there when it happened. It was the day Naruto was declared a missing nin. The Anbu gave chase, but with Naruto drawing on the nine-tailed fox's power and Sasuke using the cursed seal, they were gone within minutes. The Konoha Council and Jonin Elite both came to the conclusion to declare Sasuke and Naruto missing nin and criminals, overruling the Hokage through an old law that stated if the Hokage was emotional compromised due to the ninja in question, the council and Jonin Elite would decide on whether to declare the ninja a missing nin. Over the years, reports had come in with people claiming to have seen the nine-tailed demon fox. None of them proved true. Tsunade had to be strong for the village. Many of the civilians and some of the ninja were baying for Naruto's blood after it became public that he killed 10 Anbu and fled. Some went as far as placing a bounty on his head. The rumor mill worked its magic, and people were saying that the nine-tailed fox had corrupted the Uchiha. Shizune knew well that these rumors were started by Ino and Sakura in the hopes that one day their precious Sasuke would return. I still say he's innocent. Tsunade hiccuped. Shizune tried to smile at her boss, but the Hokage was already asleep. Shizune remembered how bad Tsunade's drinking had gotten the months after Naruto was declared a missing nin. Shizune secretly assumed the role of Hokage using a transformation jutsu while Tsunade dealt with her grief. Tsunade truly loved Naruto like the family she lost so long ago. She saw both her former love and younger brother in the boy. Shizune could only imagine that losing Naruto was like losing the two of them again. Jiraiya had come to find out about the events with Naruto and Sasuke's trial a few days after it happened. Unlike Tsunade, who spiraled into depression, the Toad Sage, who was known for his calmness and humor, lost control and almost killed the Jonin Elite. It was only through the combined effort of 10 Jonin that they were able to stop him from killing them. Jiraiya promised that Tsunade he would search for Naruto and left, not returning for 3 years. Tsunade had held hope that the Toad Sage would find him, but nothing. Jiraiya had informed Tsunade that some people who once considered Naruto a friend and ally had turned their backs on him. People that he had saved, risked his life for, they didn't want anything to do with a missing ninja Chiriki who killed 10 of his own comrades. This meant that there was no one willing to help him as he ran from Konoha. Jiraiya could only say for certain that he knew Naruto and Sasuke were traveling together from an incident in a megacur. Jiraiya couldn't gather any information on what took place because it was a heavily guarded secret of the village. Even with all his spies, he couldn't even get the exact month to when the incident took place. The news that Naruto was in a megacur worsened Tsunade's feeling about the situation. From the information that Jiraiya had gathered about the Akatsuki, a megacur was their base of operations. The Akatsuki was an organization of criminal ninja made up of S-class criminals. The Akatsuki's goal was unknown to the world, all Jiraiya knew was that they wanted the power of the nine-tailed beasts. The Akatsuki had kidnapped and murdered the Sunagakure's Kazukiage Gar years earlier by extracting his tailed beast. Tsunade feared that had been Naruto's fate. 8 years, and the only concrete thing they heard was that he was at the home of the organization that sought to kill him. Shizune looked over the Hokage, years of drinking had done damage to her body. Shizune knew if Danzo found out about this, then he would make a play to become Hokage. The Hokage's young assistant did her best to make sure no one saw the Hokage at her worst. Shizune covered the Hokage with a blanket from her desk. Standing guard at the door, Shizune let out a deep sigh. Tomorrow she would have to transform into Tsunade while issuing the new Team Kakashi with their mission. Clutching her fist tightly, she dreading seeing that team. She had nothing against Kakashi personally, but she couldn't stand 2 members of that team. Those 2 were once her sibling disciples. It was morning in Konoha and Tsunade, rather Shizune transformed into the Hokage, sat at the main desk in the Hokage's office. Kakashi was already in the room waiting for his team to arrive. He was dressed in the same Jonin uniform that he always used. There were times that Shizune had considered asking Kakashi to step in as Hokage when Tsunade was at her worst, but she always remembered that Danzo would never allow. Danzo would use the copy ninja's reaction to events of 8 years ago as a reason why Kakashi should not be Hokage. His reaction was just like Jiraiya's to news that the Jonin elite had found Naruto guilty of a crime he couldn't have possibly committed in such a farce of a trial. Unlike the Toad Sage, Kakashi gave his fellow ninja a chance to explain themselves. It was when Hiashi called Naruto a beast that Kakashi lost the cool he was famous for. A battle between Sharingan and Byakugan broke out. If Guy hadn't stepped in when he did, the Hyuga clan would have been looking for a new head. The doors opened and the second member of the team entered. He wore a flak jacket over a black long-sleeved shirt with matching pants and sandals. His long jet black hair was tied in a spiky ponytail. Upon entering the room he mumbled about something being a drag. To call him Shikamaru Nara would be a mistake. These days he was just Shikamaru, he had been stricken of the clan role a month after the Naruto and Sasuke trial. During Jiraiya's attack on his father, Shikamaru didn't intervene. When questioned about it later, he answered by saying that Naruto was innocent and his father had made a mistake. After urging from the Konoha council, he was removed from the clan so that he wouldn't become part of the Jonin elite. Shizune had grown to respect Shikamaru, and so had Tsunade. He was one of the few people in Konoha who truly believed Naruto was innocent. After hearing how Sasuke defended Naruto, Shikamaru changed his opinion about the Uchiha and fought against the Konoha council, declaring them missing nin. The former Nara was one of Tsunade's most trusted advisors and one of few who knew of Shizune's transformations. Kakashi and Shikamaru both greeted each other before they turned to the door. Two women entered into the room. The first had her long blonde hair and a ponytail with bangs covering the right side of her face. She wore a short purple, sleeveless blouse with an open purple apron skirt over a shorter black skirt with short fishnet shorts underneath. The second had bright pink hair. She wore a simple red top with black gloves, black boots, black shorts and a short gray apron skirt. Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka, the two were Jonin-level medics. During the months after Sasuke and Naruto were declared missing nin, the two of them launched a campaign to drop Sasuke's classification as a missing nin by shifting the sole blame to Naruto. They went around the village gathering support for Sasuke and developing hatred towards Naruto. These actions would be the downfall of the Konoha 10. Shikamaru opposed the way the girls were making Naruto out to be the bad guy. Shikamaru was joined by Shino Aburam, Hinata Hyuga, Rock Lee and Niji Hyuga. They all believed Naruto was innocent. To Shikamaru's shock and disappointment, his best friend Choji Akimichi sided with Ino because he had a crush on her and didn't want to go against his father's decision. Kiba Inuzuka and Tenten also sided with Ino and Sakura. Kiba reasons were similar to that of Choji. After Naruto was declared a missing nin, Hinata confessed that she was in love with Naruto. This broke Kiba's heart. He didn't want Naruto back in the village because he wanted Hinata. Tenten joined for the exact same reasons as Ino and Sakura, she was a Sasuke fangirl. Shikamaru refused to make eye contact with the two medics. Shizune knew that there would be tension in this team, but only they could carry out the mission at hand. Ahem. Shizune, as Tsunade said, to get the attention of the four Jonin. A joint task force consisting of Tamari of Suna and Anko of our own village was sent to the Land of Waves to help establish a ninja school 6 months ago. Tamari has taken ill 2 weeks ago and the task force's mission has been postponed. Your mission is to meet up with a team from Suna and then bring Anko back home. Shikamaru just yawned. Your fiancé has been sick for 2 weeks and that's how you act? You don't deserve someone like that. Ino snapped at her former teammate. You will be meeting up with Kankuro and Baki on the Great Naruto Bridge. Tsunade continued, ignoring the bickering. They're only sending 2 Jonin-level ninja. Kakashi blurted out, a bit shocked. The village never really recovered from the death of Gaara. Shikamaru added. After the Akatsuki killed the Kazekage, the village lost a lot of its ninja. Some ran, some quit, and some died trying to avenge Gaara. Kankuro and Baki are 2 very capable ninja. Kakashi noted, trying to make up for his earlier comment. Sakura and Ino, you are to provide medical treatment to Tamari before bringing Anko home. Tsunade said as she dismissed the team. Once everyone was out of the room, Shizune released the jutsu and leaned back in the Hokage's chair. She smiled as she looked around the office. She was starting to like being at the top of the village hierarchy. Shaking her head furiously, she tried to banish the thought from her head. At the village gate, Sakura and Ino waited for the 2 men of the team to join them. They were packed and ready to set off. The 2 of them had become the best of friends due to their common goal, one day bringing Sasuke back to Konoha. It was a foolish dream, but it was one they clung to. With Kiba, Tenten and Choji helping them, they thought they were closer than ever to getting back their beloved. The day Sasuke comes home will be the day we get married. Ino fantasized. Choji would be so disappointed if he heard that. Sakura teased. Ino remained silent before the 2 of them burst out laughing. It was their personal joke. They knew of the feelings Choji had for Ino, and they used those feelings to manipulate the poor ninja every chance they got. Ino kept him wrapped around her little finger, flirting with him and egging him on. She had no intention of actually pursuing a relationship with the future head of the Akimichi clan. To her he was just the means to an end. As the two laughed as if they were young schoolgirls gossiping, they were joined by Kakashi and Shikamaru, who were both prepared for the mission. After 8 years without a single sign, do you two still think Sasuke is alive? Shikamaru asked, trying to play on the nerves of the girls. With his one exposed eye, Kakashi shot Shikamaru, and I don't have the patience for a bitch fit look. How dare you say something like that? Sakura screamed. Of course he is alive. He is Sasuke Uchiha. You should be more worried about that damn Jinchuriki. Ino added. That's where I don't get you broads. During the trial, Sasuke defended Naruto. Your great hero, Sasuke, believed that his best friend Naruto was innocent. Here you two are, telling everyone that Naruto is a murdering monster. Sasuke would be so disappointed in you. Shikamaru said, sticking a verbal dagger into the backs of both the girls. As they walked further away from the village, they met up with another team returning to the village. Standing in front of his team was a young man with short spiky brown hair. He wore a yellow shirt with the Konoha symbol in red, gray pants, and a long blue scarf. He had a pair of goggles hanging of his utility belt. Behind him were two men who looked identical. It was Might Guy and Rock Lee. Kakashi, my eternal rival. Guy shouted as he ran to confront the copy ninja. Shikamaru, my eternal Lee, tried to imitate his sensei, but Shikamaru's shadow possession jutsu stopped him. For the last time, Lee, you can't make every single ninja in the village your eternal rival. Shikamaru tried to reason. But the fire of youth burns brightly in me. Lee pled as he struggled. I need more rivals to stoke the fire so that I will one day be as great as Guy Sensei. The young man with goggles balled his fists as he held himself back from doing something he would regret. Well, if it isn't Konohamaru Sarutobi, the nine-tailed demon fox's biggest fan. Ino teased. Her comment earned death stares from all the men. She didn't say anything untrue. Sakura came to her friend's aid. It's because of close-minded simpletons like you that Naruto Nai-chan suffered. Konohamaru spat distastefully. With his index and middle fingers from both hands crossed, Konohamaru prepared to use the shadow clone jutsu. With a large puff of smoke, two exact copies of Konohamaru appeared next to him. That's enough. Guy said, placing his hand on one of the Konohamaru's shoulder. They are on a mission. Sensei, that's not me. Konohamaru said as the clone burst into smoke, leaving Guy red-faced. Sakura and Ino walked onwards, ignoring Konohamaru and his comment about them being simpletons. Bowing towards the returning ninja, Kakashi and Shikamaru set off after the girls. After walking for a few miles, Sakura broke the silence. Can you believe the nerve of that kid? He thought he could take us on with a couple of shadow clones. We've been jonin for close to 3 full years. He just got prompted to the rank and thinks he can run with us. Ino added. The shadow clone was for the Rasengan. Kakashi spoke up, shocking both the girls. Where did the brat learn such a powerful technique? Sakura asked. I showed him. Kakashi admitted. Kakashi, that's so irresponsible, teaching a jutsu so powerful to someone like him. Sakura scolded. Kakashi felt a sense of disappointment. Everything Sakura spoke to him like that. After everything he did for her, she spoke to him little respect. She had stopped calling him sensei the day she became a chunin. I taught Sasuke the Chidori at a much younger age. And if you ask me, that was irresponsible. Shikamaru joked. It was very rare that the brilliant strategist tried to be funny on purpose. This was not lost on Kakashi, who smiled under his mask. You're just jealous because you'll never be half the man Sasuke is. Ino shot. Shikamaru had given up on trying talking sense to these girls. They had this delusion of the person Sasuke was. It was nowhere near the real person who stuck by Naruto's innocence till the end. It's been so long since I've been to the Great Naruto Bridge. Kakashi said, trying to diffuse any possible argument. His mind drifted back to the days after Naruto and Sasuke fled Konoha. A day after the fight with Hiashi, the Sharingan warrior stationed himself at the bridge hoping to find his students. He waited there for 2 weeks. It was after 2 weeks that he was forced back to the village by Shizune. Kakashi's trip down memory lane was disturbed by Sakura's harsh tone. I can't believe they haven't renamed that bridge. It must be bad for business to have a monument like that named after someone like Naruto. Shikamaru ignored the last comment because he was so focused on Ino. His mind began to replay the events of the day the legendary Ino Shikacho trio disbanded. It had been 3 months since Sasuke and Naruto were declared missing nin. After the initial heartbreak, Sakura and Ino decided that they would do something to get their love back. With her father's, who was part of the Jonin elite, help, Ino found a loophole in the law of the missing nin classification. If a vast majority of the village, over 75% of the population, felt the ninja in question was acting for the good of the village, the Jonin elite could revoke the missing nin classification. It was with this knowledge that Sakura and Ino commenced their plan to drop Sasuke's classification as a missing nin by shifting the sole blame to Naruto. The first step of their plan was to convince the Konoha 10 to support them. Outside the first gate of the Forest of Death was the place Ino and Sakura instructed the rest of the Konoha 10 to meet them. Shikamaru was the first person there. He wore a green-lined mesh t-shirt under a short-sleeved grey jacket with brown pants and blue sandals. Normally he would use a flak jacket, but he didn't feel like it this day. Shikamaru was joined by Hinata and Niji. Hinata had her blue hair in a short leveled Heim-cut style just above her forehead, with chin-length strands framing her face. She wore a cream-colored hooded jacket with navy blue pants. Niji wore a khaki shirt and dark brown shorts. He also had bandages wrapped around his right arm, chest and right leg. The sound of a person shouting about youth was followed by the appearance of Lee and Tenten. Lee's hair was cut into the same bowl cut style as Guy, and he also wore the same attire, a green jumpsuit, orange leg warmers and his red forehead protector as a belt. Next to him Tenten tried to calm him down. Her hair was combed into Chinese-style buns on either side of her head. She wore a pink sleeveless blouse and dark green pants. Soon they were joined by the two males from Hinata's team. Kiba wore dark grayish pants reaching to his calves and a grey hooded fur-lined coat with a hood placed on his head. On top of the hood was a small white dog. Shino wore dark sunglasses and a sea green jacket with a high upturned collar that covered the bottom of his face. Finally the last three members of the Konoha 10 arrived. Ino wore a short purple vest-like blouse with a raised collar, a skirt that was cut off on the sides and bandage on her stomach and legs. Sakura was dressed in a red kipao dress with tight dark green shorts. Running up behind the girls was poor Choji. He wore brown shorts, a long white scarf, and a short-sleeved green jacket over a white shirt. Now that everyone was there, Ino and Sakura decided to begin the meeting. "I'm just going to say it, Sasuke being declared a missing nin is just wrong," Ino announced. "Just Sasuke?" Niji asked, a bit curious. "What about Naruto?" Hinata chimed in shyly. "What about that idiot? The incident at the trial was his fault. He killed those Anbu because he couldn't control the demon inside him," Sakura answered. "I don't believe it. Everything about that trial was suspicious," Shikamaru admitted. "Talk like that is the reason you were kicked out of your clan," Kiba barked. "It's not our place to talk about the Nara clan's business." Shino tried to apologize for his friend. "I agree with Shikamaru. The passion of youth burns brightly in Naruto and Sasuke, that's why I know they are innocent," Lee shouted. "You can't use the passion of youth as an excuse for everything. I didn't want to believe Naruto did it, but all the evidence was against him," Tenten said, slapping the back of Lee's head. "Guys, this whole thing makes no sense to me. We have to come up with a plan before Sasuke and Naruto are hunted down." Choji spoke up. "Choji, you agree with me, right?" Ino asked as she stepped closer to the boy. Leaning against him, she pouted her lips and stared at him pleadingly. "Naruto is the criminal and he forced Sasuke to go with him," Sakura maintained. "This whole thing is Sasuke's fault. If he hadn't run away, none of this would have happened. So if you're blaming anyone, blame Sasuke." Niji boomed, his voice filled with distaste. "Niji is right. The Sasuke retrieval squad risked their lives to bring him back, although if I had been part of the squad, no one would have had to risk their life," Shino added. He still wasn't over it. "Are you ever going to let it go?" Kiba complained. "You were on a mission, nothing could be done. Please don't argue," Hinata pled. "I've had it with the shy schoolgirl routine. It's getting really old." Sakura scoffed. "What do you mean?" Hinata whimpered slightly. "It was cute in the academy, but it just seems like you're trying to hog all the attention." Sakura continued. "Sakura, that was uncalled for. If anything, you're the drama queen who strives for attention," Shikamaru pointed out. "You can't talk to my best friend like that," Ino shouted. Tension was filling in the air. A fight could easily erupt if anyone said anything out of place. Rock Lee held back the urge to try and start a brawl. Shino readied the insects in his body. Kiba held a pair of food pills in his closed fist. Niji had activated his Byakugan. "Violence isn't going to solve anything amongst comrades," Shikamaru said. "You're right. We should explain our plan." Sakura agreed. "There's an old law that says if a ninja is declared a missing nin and 75% of the village's population feel that the ninja has acted for the good of the village, the Jonin elite could revoke his missing nin classification," Ino explained. "How are we going to get so many people to believe in Naruto?" Hinata asked. "Forget about that idiot," Sakura snorted. "The people already hate Naruto. We just say Sasuke was an innocent bystander caught in the wrath of the nine-tailed demon fox." "I can't allow that. I won't allow you to go around telling people that Naruto is a monster," Shikamaru said as he walked away from the group. "I'm with Shikamaru. I love Naruto and I believe he is innocent," Hinata confessed as she joined the Chunin. "Naruto showed me that I could be free even with a curse mark." Niji reminisced as he joined his cousin. "By the fire of youth I will stand by Naruto," Lee exclaimed as he jumped onto Niji's back, much to the chagrin of the Hyuga. "You can easily judge the character of a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him," Even after he was treated badly by everyone, he hated nobody from the village. Shino said, joining Shikamaru. Shikamaru looked anxiously at Choji as he expected his friend to join him. I don't think it's fair that Sasuke be blamed for Naruto's flaws. Ino squealed. Ino is right. Sasuke has the potential to be great ninja for the village where Naruto has the potential to be a great threat. Sakura commented coldly. My mother was called to investigate those Anbu corpses. Naruto's stench was all over them. Kiba barked as he held back his true feelings. I'm a rational person. If the evidence says he did then, well he did it. Tenten admitted. Choji stood between the stares of his best friend Shikamaru and his crush Ino. Shikamaru looked at him with worry while Ino tried to make herself as appealing as possible. His heart was torn. What was he to do? Giving Shikamaru one last defeated look, he stood next to Ino. I'm sorry, Shikamaru. My dad saw the demon in Naruto. I believe him. Choji apologized. Present day at the Great Naruto Bridge, two ninja waited. They were on the side of the bridge leading from the land of fire to the land of waves. The first ninja wore a black baggy full bodysuit with a red and yellow circle on the front. He had two large scrolls tied to his back. He also wore a black hood with cat-like ears and his forehead protector on his forehead. According to his forehead protector, he was from Suna. The second ninja wore standard attire of a Sunanin, complete with a forehead protector and flak jacket. Only the right side of his face was visible, with the rest being covered by his turban-like headgear and a sheet hanging from it on the left side of his face. On his back was a katana. Tenkuro-sama, I feel uneasy about this. The second ninja spoke up. It's okay, Baki. The Konoha ninja should be here soon. The first ninja spoke up. I wouldn't be too sure of that. A mysterious deep voice announced. The two Suna ninjas spun around looking for the source of the voice. They found it in the form of a man standing on the bridge. He wasn't there a few seconds ago when they checked the parameter. The man who spoke was looking down the bridge away from the two Suna ninja. The stranger was wearing a long black cloak with a chin-high collar. On the back of his cloak was the kanji for truth. On his head was a conical straw hat. When he turned around, the Suna ninja couldn't see his face. Between the chin-high collar and low-tipped conical straw hat, his face was hidden. Identify yourself. Kankuro shouted. Kankuro of Suna, Jonin level ninja, brother of the former Kazukiage. The stranger droned in an emotionless, monotone voice. Bounty, 20 million ryo. You're a black market bounty hunter. Baki screamed as he drew his katana. You seriously think you can take on the two of us? Kankuro laughed as he grabbed the scrolls of his bag and unrolled them on the ground. Two large clouds of smoke appeared before revealing two puppets. The first puppet had 3 eyes, 4 arms, jagged teeth and spiky brown hair protruding from the top of its head and framing the sides of its head. Its body was covered by a tattered old cloak. The second puppet looked like a large wooden salamander. It had a large, strong shield on it. These puppets were called Crow and Salamander, the best puppets in terms of attack and defense. A slight chuckle could be heard from the stranger. His laughter made the two Suna ninja furious but remained calm. While Kankuro stayed focused on the target in front of him, Baki searched any other possible threats. Baki was weary of the foe. One thing he knew for sure was that the mysterious man was fast. The stranger dropped the left sleeve of his cloak down to the elbow to reveal his arm. Across the inside of his forearm were 7 circles, inside each circle was a different kanji. Using his left hand, he lowered his chin-high collar just enough to reveal his mouth. Then he bit on his right thumb, drawing blood before bringing his collar back up. Using the blood from his thumb, he drew a line across the first circle tattoo on his left arm. This tattoo was just under his wrist. After completing the blood line across the circle, a cloud of smoke appeared. When the smoke dispersed, his sleeve was back the way it was originally and he held a large blade in his left hand. It was a massive broadsword that had 2 cutouts, a circle close to the top and a semicircular one nearer the handle. The executioner's blade. Baki stuttered. Since you wield that blade, it is safe to assume that you are from Kurigakure and you're part of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Kankuro theorized. The least questioned assumptions are often the most questionable, the stranger said as he tightened his grip on the handle of his sword. I guess you're right. You may possess a weapon of Kurigakure, but your voice. You sound like someone who has spent a lot of time in the land of fire. Kankuro fished for a hint to the man's possible techniques. I've spent time all over the world. The stranger replied, changing his accent to that of some from the land of wind. Suna isn't exactly the best vacation spot in the world. Before I kill you, what is your name? Kankuro asked. He was now more serious and worried. I have no name, but people who meet their end at my blade refer to me as Shin. He answered. You can call me that while you beg for your life. After Baki and I kill you, that will be the name we'll put on your grave. Kankuro mocked. Choose your last words wisely. Shin threatened as he lifted and pointed the executioner's blade at Kankuro using only his right hand. You think you're going to scare us by lifting your big sword? Baki laughed. Shin released his grip, allowing the tip of the sword to fall onto the bridge. The blade slammed down, cracking the concrete. Team Kakashi approached the meeting point at the Great Naruto Bridge. All seemed calm from a distance until Kakashi picked up the scent of a recent battle. Signaling his team with his hands, the Konoha ninja charged towards the bridge with a greater speed. Getting closer, they could make out one lone figure that lay motionless on the ground. As they cautiously approached the body, Shikamaru quickly identified him as Baki, the Jonin from Suna. Around his body were fragments of wood and blood, lots of blood. When they were close enough, they found the source of the blood. Both of the Suna ninja hands had been cut off. Kakashi lifted his forehead protector to use his Sharingan as Sakura, and Ino went to work on Baki. He was barely alive as the two medic nin channeled their chakra into him. The intention wasn't to save him, but to get as much information from him before he died. "Where's Kankuro?" Shikamaru asked as he brought his ear close to the dying man's mouth. The former Nara knew his fiancé won't be able to handle losing another sibling. "BBB bounty H Hun Hun," Baki gasped as his body gave out. Sakura and Ino increased the amount of chakra they gave, but Kakashi shook his head. The captain knew they would just be wasting chakra. Their instinct was to carry on, but they obeyed their captain. Kakashi pulled out a scroll from his flak jacket and unraveled it over Baki. Nodding to give Shikamaru permission, he watched as Shikamaru bit his finger, drawing blood, and completed the seal on the scroll. After a large cloud of smoke appeared, Baki's body was gone. Shikamaru rolled the scroll and handed it to Kakashi. "I'm going to leave the job of returning the body to you, Shikamaru," Kakashi said as he dropped his forehead protector back over his eye. The four ninja surveyed the area for clues to the type of ninja who could have done this. This had to have been an S-class bounty hunter. The battle was short. He took out Baki and captured Kankuro. Shikamaru noted as he ran his along a crack in the concrete of the bridge. "There's no damage to the surrounding area. That means he is either really fast or really powerful." Sakura added her opinion. "Or maybe he is both," Kakashi said as he examined the broken pieces of the puppets. "He beat Crow and Salamander. We need to hurry to Temari. If this guy came after Kankuro, he might go after her," Shikamaru shouted as he looked across the bridge. Kakashi gave the signal and all four ninja took off, running across the deserted bridge as fast as they could. It was indeed suspicious as to why this bridge that was supposed to be the life of the wave country was empty. Kakashi took the lead and used a small blade to prick his thumb. The Jonin stopped and cast several hand seals and slammed his palm into the ground. Shikamaru, Sakura and Ino continued running. They knew what their captain was doing. After a puff of smoke, a small dog with a blue jacket and Konoha forehead protector appeared. "Akin, I want you to go back to Konoha and tell them that the team from Suna has been killed and they should send another squad to the land of waves as soon as possible. We'll wait for the second squad before returning," Kakashi instructed the dog. The two then ran in opposite directions. Within a minute, Kakashi caught up with his team. "Why did you wait till we were on the bridge to summon Pakin and request assistance?" Ino asked as they ran. "Something about that place didn't feel right," Kakashi answered as he retook the lead. After that, the whole team picked up their pace. After half an hour of intense, Might Guy-style running, they finally reached the central hospital in the land of waves. Thanks to the Great Naruto Bridge increasing commerce and trade, it brought more revenue to the land of waves. It was now very prosperous. It looked like a smaller version of Konoha, well it should have. The architects were inspired by Konoha in their designs. When they reached the hospital entrance, they were stopped by two familiar faces. The first was an old gray-haired man with a mustache and a pair of glasses. He wore a sleeveless V-neck shirt with an obi, pants, and he also carried a towel around his neck which he was using to wipe sweat of his forehead. Next to him was a young man. The young man was dressed in the exact same outfit as the old man, right down to the towel. "Kakashi-sama," the young man screamed. "Inari, we need you to take us to Temari and Anko immediately," Kakashi requested. Inari nodded and rushed into the hospital, followed by Team Kakashi. The old man stood outside scratching his head and mumbling about youngsters these days. Kakashi and his team were led by the young man to the second floor of the two-story building as he showed them to a door. Realizing that it might get awkward if he just rushed in, Kakashi knocked on the door. "Come in," a soft voice answered. Shikamaru opened the door and rushed into the room. In front of him was his fiancée. The Suna ninja was looking out the window. Against doctor's orders, she was out of bed and had changed into her uniform. She was wearing a short-sleeved black kimono that reached down to her legs, with slits along the side and a very revealing neckline. She had a red sash tied around her waist. Under her kimono she was wearing mesh armor. Shikamaru rushed over and wrapped his arms around the blonde woman. "I don't remember you being so clingy," Temari teased as she embraced him back. "What about me? Don't I get any sugar?" Anko pointed at Kakashi from the hospital bed. She was wearing a mesh bodysuit that stretched from her neck down to her thighs with a dark orange miniskirt. Her tan coat was discarded on the floor. "Where's my brother?" Temari sniffed, trying not to sneeze. Shikamaru's face turned ash as he tried to find the right words. Baki is dead and Kankuro is missing. He said coldly, trying to sound calm. Her grip on her fiancé tightened as she found the words hard to take. Anko was already out of the bed and putting on her coat. What happened? Temari demanded to know. We don't know. We reached the bridge too late. Baki's last words were bounty hunter. Shikamaru explained as the woman in his arms trembled with multiple emotions. What are we waiting here for? Suna are our allies. We need to hunt the bounty hunter. Anko declared. We can't. The bounty hunter left no trace behind. It was a professional job. Most likely a very skillful S-class criminal. Kakashi reasoned. It's the Akatsuki. First they took Gaara, now Kankuro. They're making a collection of the Sand siblings. Temari shouted. Every ninja knew that black market bounty hunters only deal with corpses. Shikamaru held Temari as close as he could. The other Konoha ninja decided to give them some time alone and left the room. Once the door was closed and they were alone in the room, she couldn't hold her feelings back. The proud Suna ninja and last Sand sibling cried her eyes out. She felt so ashamed but couldn't stop. Her entire family was dead. She had nothing left. That was the thought that kept circling her mind. Revenge, she wanted revenge. She couldn't get her revenge alone. She needed the help of her future husband. She decided she would wait until she told her village about what has happened before setting off. We'll find the person who did this and we will make him pay. Shikamaru tried to console. Thank you, but this is none of Konoha's concern. She responded, wiping away some tears. Who said anything about Konoha? This will be a husband and wife thing. He whispered. Temari couldn't believe it. Her fiancé was in her head. He had read her mind perfectly, just like he did all those years ago during the Chunin exam. Outside of the hospital, the rest of Team Kakashi waited with Anko and Inari. Inari, why was the bridge so empty today? Kakashi asked, trying to make sense of it. About 2 weeks ago an inspector said that there was something wrong with the bridge. He was part of Feudal Lord's Council. At first we thought he was asking for a bribe, but then he showed us the damage the sea winds have caused to the bridge. He said the bridge can't be used by civilians until it is up to code, but ninja may use it. Inari explained. Did he specifically say that only ninja would be allowed to use it? Kakashi questioned. As a matter of fact he did. He even emphasized the point. Inari remembered. 2 weeks ago was when Temari fell sick. This could be a setup. It's almost certain that Kankuro would be here to take his sister home. Kakashi thought. What did this man look like? Inari began to think back to when he met the man. As he thought, his pupils became dilated and he became unresponsive. It's a mind seal. Sakura said as she lowered Inari to the ground. Ino placed her hands on the young man's forehead and entered his mind. Closing her eyes she could see the landscape of his mind. It was like an ocean. She recalled his memories and they would be displayed in the water. Concentrating her chakra, Ino searched for the memory of 2 weeks ago. She didn't get a memory, what she got was something much worse. It was a booby trap placed for anyone who tried to read Inari's mind. Ino found that she was no longer in Inari's mindscape. She was somewhere else. She was standing in the middle of a barren field that seemed to stretch out infinitely. A red moon cast a red light over the colorless land. Looking closer at the ground she kneeled over. Upon touching the ground she found blood, there was blood everywhere. Screaming, Ino jumped away from Inari. She struggled to breathe as a panic attack set in. Sakura left the young man and rushed to her friend's side. Ino couldn't stop the trembling in her hands, she kept picturing all the blood from the mind trap. There's a powerful genjutsu placed on the memory. It said only to activate as soon as someone tries to read his mind. Ino explained as Sakura helped up. With a few groans Inari woke up. He wasn't sure how he fell asleep. What did you see? Kakashi asked, trying to assess if any damage had been done to the young man. What are you talking about? I just fell asleep. Inari answered. Kakashi released the mind seal wasn't meant to hurt Inari, just anyone trying to view his memory. The team captain instructed Sakura and Ino to heal Temari up. After that he decided to tell Shikamaru the information. Kakashi dragged Shikamaru away from his fiancé and Sakura and Ino got to work. Finding an empty hospital room and making sure there was nobody around, he explained everything. This is bad, Kakashi-sensei. Shikamaru said as he went over the facts in his head. To Suna, it's going to look the feudal lord set up Kankuro's kidnapping and possible murder. It could have been an impostor. Kakashi mentioned. Impostor or not, in this ninja world, it's appearances that matter. Shikamaru remarked. The young jonin was right. Even if they told Suna that the Land of Fire had nothing to do with it, an investigation by Suna would turn up the same inconsistencies, that a member of the feudal lord's council was making the bridge only accessible to ninja and Temari getting sick at the same time. Kakashi hoped that it wouldn't go that far. The war between Suna and Konoha would devastate both villages. Kurigakure would easily destroy us afterwards. Shikamaru noted. It had been 5 years since Mei Terumi was named the 5th Mizukage of Kurigakure. In an attempt to make peace with the other villages and assure them that Kurigakure were not supporting the Akatsuki, May called a cage summit. During the summit there was an international incident between Konoha and Kurigakure. The Mizukage was a very beautiful woman, and with Jiraiya being part of the team from Konoha, one should have seen this coming. The Toad Sage was caught trying to spy on the Mizukage while she was in a hot spring. Tsunade had managed to prevent war, but May had developed a strong dislike for Konoha. Over the next few years the relationship worsened as Kurigakure grew as a village. Rumors had been circulating about how the hidden village grew so fast, but none were ever able to be proven. An attempt from the Hokage to form an alliance only made things worse, as a misunderstanding between Anbu from Konoha and Hunter Nin from Kurigakure resulted in the death of one of the Hunter Nin. Although Kurigakure accepted cash compensation, according to Jiraiya, they were waiting for an opportunity to attack Konoha. Apparently May could hold a grudge. There was a rumor years ago that Kurigakure Nin were doing black market bounty work and funneling the money into the economy of the Land of Water. Kakashi added. That's all we have. Assumptions and rumors, all we know for certain is that the seal on Inari's mind is an S-class Shinjutsu. Shikamaru responded. I think you should check on Temari. Kakashi said to end their discussion. On the desk of the Hokage sat a tired dog. Pakin had completely exhausted himself running. Laying on his back the dog explained everything. Tsunade, the real Tsunade, gritted her teeth at the news. 2 ninja from their ally had been killed before they could meet. It looked suspicious and any outsider would see it that way. Shizune, assemble a team of Jonin to escort Temari back to Suna. We must show Suna that we still value the alliance. Tsunade shouted only to realize her assistant was right next to her. After regaining her hearing Shizune rushed out to find a team. She had to choose ninja who were fresh and didn't have any important missions coming up. She knew 3 ninja who fit that description perfectly. She didn't want to send them with Sakura and Ino already in the Land of Waves, but she had no choice. Issuing the order to a Chunin she sighed heavily. 10 minutes later in the Hokage's office the team was ready. Shizune had left to prepare a formal report to hand over to Suna once the team reached their destination. It was a document stating that the team from Konoha arrived as soon as possible but were too late. Tsunade looked at the team assembled before her. She was hoping it would be Team Niji or even the new team guy. The Hokage couldn't fault Shizune with this. These were the only Jonin available. In her mind she was swearing repeatedly, ignoring her own prejudice against them, she decided to issue them with the orders. The first member of the team had long brown hair that reached to his waist. He wore a red suit with plated armor on his torso, arms, and upper legs. On the front of his chest armor was the kanji for food. The second member of the team was a woman with dark brown hair, which was worn in Chinese-style buns on either side of her head. She wore a long-sleeved white blouse with a high collar and puffy pants. The final member of the team had messy brown hair. He wore a leather form-fitting black jacket along with black pants and sandals. Toji, Tenten and Kiba, this mission is very important for maintaining our good relationship with Suna. Do you understand? Tsunade shouted to drill in the point. The 3 Jonin nodded to signal yes. Your mission is to travel to the Land of Waves. From there you will escort Temari back to Suna. You will have to move out immediately. Tsunade explained the details of the mission. What happened? Shikamaru can't take care of his own wife. Kiba laughed. This is no joke. Tsunade barked. Move out now. The 3 Jonin shivered in fear before grabbing pre-packed bags from Shizune who had just entered the room. Tenten as captain it'll be your responsibility to make sure the report in your bag makes to the Kazukiage. Shizune instructed. You can count on me Shizune-sama. Tenten said before running off. Once Team Tenten was gone Shizune closed the door and took her position next to the Hokage. Sighing deeply Tsunade looked out the window of her office. Shizune, do you enjoy being Hokage? Tsunade asked. Aye. Shizune screamed in her usual shocked voice. Tsunade-sama must have read my diary. I was thinking about how I was doing such a good job as a proxy Hokage I wanted to write about. Wait, if she read my diary then she would have seen all those poems I wrote about my favorite Jonin. Ah. She's definitely going to use it to embarrass me. Forget about embarrassing, she's going to kill me. I knew I shouldn't have written about my fears of ending up alone and childless like the Hokage. Shizune, I ask do you enjoy being Hokage? Tsunade asked again. Why would you ask that? Shizune backstepped. I'm getting old. A new Hokage will have to be chosen soon. Tsunade admitted. What are you talking about? The third was much older than you. Shizune reassured her friend. He didn't use the yin seal. Release. Tsunade said pointing to the diamond-shaped mark on her forehead. It had been close to 4 hours since Tsunade had issued Team Tenten with a mission and they were already in the Land of Waves. Running without any rest stops they made it there. Outside the hospital were Team Kakashi, Anko and Temari. I was expecting you to be here a lot sooner. Kakashi said as the new team arrived. We would have if someone wasn't slowing us down. Kiba snarled looking over to Choji. Don't blame Choji. Ino spoke up. I'll blame whoever I want, you blonde, Kiba barked, but was cut off by Choji. You can't talk to her like that. Choji threatened. It's bad enough you behave like this in Konoha, but now in front of a foreign ninja. Tenten said, stepping in between. Ahem. Kakashi coughed, trying to get their attention. Sorry, Kakashi-sensei. Tenten apologized as she forced her team to bow. Choji, you'll be coming with us back to Konoha, and Shikamaru will take your place in accompanying Temari back to Suna. Both teams will move out in an hour. Kakashi ordered. We get only an hour to rest. That's ridiculous. Kiba growled. You don't seem to understand. Time is of the essence. We are dealing with a very powerful foe. We have absolutely no information on him besides the fact he took out 2 of the best jonin in Suna. Shikamaru explained. No offense, but you can't compare the jonin from Konoha to the jonin from Suna. Kiba smirked. What's that supposed to mean, dog boy? Temari demanded to know. He means that Konoha has better ninjas. Sakura added fuel to the fire. Are you trying to destroy the alliance between the villages by yourselves? Shikamaru scolded as he tried to calm Temari down. Kakashi gave the Konoha ninja a stern look before leading Shikamaru and Temari away. You guys are no fun. Anko laughed as she ran off following Kakashi. Has there been any word about the Konoha Councilor Jonin elite taking our plans seriously? Sakura asked after making sure it was just the 5 of them. The Konoha Council was willing to listen. They liked it. Tenten answered. They said they will convince Danzo to get on board. Choji continued. But it's going to cost us. Kiba added. What do you mean cost? Ino questioned as thoughts of Danzo being an old pervert crossed her mind. She was picturing herself, Tenten and Sakura chained to a wall in the old man's house wearing almost nothing. Tenten took a deep breath before she explained. Danzo wants your help in his coup d'etat. You 2 are in the perfect position to take out Shizune-sama and Tsunade-sama. He wants us to kill the Hokage. Sakura was too shocked to realize her voice was being raised. Ino quickly placed her hand over her friend's mouth. You can't be serious. The Konoha Council said if Danzo became Hokage, he would rewrite all of the village's laws and get Sasuke's name cleared while still continuing the hunt for Naruto. Tenten told. If we do this, can't we get both their names cleared? Choji asked. No way, it's because of Naruto that I lost 8 years that I could have spent with my Sasuke. Sakura said bitterly. That settles it, we'll meet with Danzo as soon as we get back to the village. Ino exclaimed, glad she didn't have to sell her body. Just be careful. Lee, Niji, Hinata and Shino seem to be very interested in our actions recently. Kiba warned. Tell me about it. Every time I walk through the village I feel like there's a Byakugan watching me. Sakura shivered. If they find out about the plan, we're dead. Choji choked. Not necessarily. Half the ninja in the village are willing to side with Danzo. Kiba noted. This thing could break out into full-scale civil war. Ino mumbled. That's why you 2 taking out the Hokage is so important. Tenten said. I think we should meet up with the others. Shikamaru might get suspicious. Choji stuttered. Don't worry, Choji. Big, bad Shikamaru won't hurt you. Ino teased, pinching his cheek. Sakura, Kiba and Tenten all held back laughter as Choji blushed. They split up and decided to join Kakashi one at a time. Everyone understands the specifics of their mission. Kakashi addressed the new team Tenten with Shikamaru. The 3 Konoha ninja nodded while Temari looked on. Once everybody was set, they took off running on the Great Naruto Bridge. Kakashi ran at point with his Sharingan exposed. To his left was Ino and behind her was Tenten. To his right was Sakura and behind her was Kiba. At the rear were Anko and Choji. In the middle of the defensive formation were Temari and Shikamaru. Reaching the Land of Fire's side of the bridge, Kakashi stopped the ninja behind. Someone was standing at the entrance of the bridge. The stranger was wearing a long black cloak with a chin-high collar. On the back of his cloak was the kanji for truth. On his head was a conical straw hat. Identify yourself. Kakashi demanded as the Konoha ninja prepared to engage. The man turned around, but the chin-high collar and low-tipped conical straw hat meant his face was hidden. If you remain silent, it will be taken as a sign of hostility. Kakashi shouted. Kakashi Haddock, bounty 40 million ryo or 30 million without the Sharingan. The man spoke. His voice was cold and monotone. Thoughts of this being the same bounty hunter who took Kankuro crept into the ninjas' minds. Did you take my brother? Temari screamed as she drew her giant folding fan. I collected the bounty on him if that's what you mean. The stranger answered. Temari tried to run and attack the bounty hunter, but she found her body paralyzed. From the corner of her eye she could see Shikamaru using his shadow possession jutsu. Let me go. Temari roared. We planned if this happened. Kakashi will engage first and we'll support him from the rear guard. Shikamaru tried to reason. Kakashi took a few steps away from the group towards the stranger. What's your name? I have no name, but people who meet their end at my blade refer to me as Shin. He answered. Lucky for you, I have no intention of collecting any more bounties. Too bad because we have the intention of fighting you. Kakashi responded. Just like Konoha ninja, always attacking first without provocation. Shin replied, a light chuckle after he spoke. You must be a powerful ninja to have taken down both Kankuro and Baki without much effort. Kakashi fished for information. Trying to get me to reveal something about myself that you can use, I expected nothing less from Kakashi of the Sharingan. Shin droned on. Casting a few quick hand signs, Kakashi used a shadow clone jutsu to create a single clone of himself. You used shadow clones to beat Might Guy during his last challenge against you. That win put you up 112 to 111. Shin spoke. How could he possibly know that? That challenge took place in the Hokage's office. Guy must have blabbed it to someone somewhere. Kakashi thought. I know a lot more than you. Shin said as he stepped forward. With that single step he disappeared and reappeared behind the two Kakashi with his hand on the real Kakashi's shoulder. The Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Kakashi choked. Which those words Shin disappeared along with the real Kakashi. Why did you bring me here? Kakashi demanded to know. The Jonin was standing on a statue of Madara Uchiha. You said you wanted to fight. Shin responded. He was standing on a statue of Hashirama Senju. Between the two statues was a raging waterfall. You brought me to the final valley just to fight. Kakashi sneered. He could tell there was more. He was looking out for any other enemies. Don't worry Kakashi. We are alone. There's no one to save you. Shin taunted. Why are you doing this? Kakashi asked taking a fighting stance. Isn't it obvious? I live for war. I'm just itching for the next great ninja war. I just wanted to speed things up. You kidnapped Kankuro with the intention of framing the Land of Fire. You want Konoha and Suna to go to war. Kakashi shouted. You are indeed intelligent. Shin complimented. That's just phase 1 of my plan. Once Suna and Konoha begin their battle, Kurigakure will get involved. Then hell will break loose on Earth. So you're just a sick sadist who wants to witness large-scale destruction. Kakashi spat. Not large-scale destruction, just the destruction of this ninja world. As long as we live like this there will never be peace, there will never come a time where the world will be united as one. Once the 5 great ninja nations have been destroyed, an era of peace will sweep the world. Shin went on. Drawing 3 shuriken in his left hand and a kunai in his right, Kakashi stared down his opponent unable to make eye contact. Your face is well concealed. Are you going to reveal your face or am I going to have to do that myself? The years of peace and living in Konoha have made you weak Kakashi. To think I once saw you as the greatest ninja to hail from the Land of Fire. Since I once respected you before I kill you I'm going to give you a choice. Would you save the life of the Hokage at the cost of more than half your ninjas? The question was laid out by Shin much to the shock of Kakashi. What kind of question is that? If you're planning on going after the Hokage I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you will die here. Kakashi answered. Are you truly that blind to the deception and betrayal of Konoha? As we speak now, a ninja of Konoha is planning the unthinkable. A trusted advisor of the Hokage is plotting. In 2 weeks, on the night of the Red Moon, the Hokage will die at the hands of her own people. Shin predicted, his voice colder than usual. Why are you telling me this? Kakashi shouted. In truth Kakashi, I have every intention of killing you. It's been so long since I fought someone who had a glimmer of hope against me. I'm giving you every reason to not hold anything back. If you can survive against me you can save the Hokage. Shin explained. What do you mean survive? You don't think I can beat you? Kakashi spoke as he watched his foe for any sudden surges of chakra. I know you can't beat me. But if you can get this bell you are in the right to live. Shin dropped a small bell from his sleeve with a long string attached to it. The bell was similar to ones used in Konoha's training methods. Using the long string Shin tied the bell around his waist with the bell hanging on his left side. Your knowledge of Konoha is very extensive. After I kill you I'll be sure to take the bell. Kakashi shouted as he threw the shuriken and kunai. Using the technique that Kakashi had dubbed the Flying Thunder, God Jutsu, Shin evaded the shuriken and kunai that became embedded in the stone statue. The bounty hunter reappeared behind the Konoha ninja. Kakashi was expecting this and was already facing his foe. Fire style. Fireball Jutsu. Kakashi yelled. The Jonin cast several fast hand seal before finishing on Tiger. Kakashi then inhaled deeply before releasing a stream of fire from his mouth through his mask. The fire hit Shin, turning into a large orb of flames before disappearing and leaving an empty, scorched crater in the ground. Using a C-rank jutsu against me, I take that as an insult. Shin mocked as he reappeared in the burnt crater. You're fast, but if all you do is run then this fight isn't going far. Kakashi responded. I was sure I nailed him, but there's not a scratch. His speed is incredible, has even confusing my Sharingan. I'm feeling extra generous. I won't attack just yet. I'll just defend. Shin taunted. Water style. Water shark bomb jutsu. Kakashi announced before ending his hand seals on a ram seal. A pool of water formed in front of the Jonin from his chakra. He then shaped the water into the form of a large shark and thrust his hand forward, sending it towards Shin. Earth style. Mud wall. Shin mumbled as he placed his hand down onto the stone. A large wall of mud that was formed from Shin's chakra rose up and protected the bounty hunter from water shark. Slowly the wall receded back into the statue to reveal Shin still in his crouched position. Lightning beast running jutsu. Channeling his lightning affinity chakra into his right hand, Kakashi released it into the air. The lightning chakra took the form of a blue wolf, while a thin line of chakra acted as a leash. Motioning with his hand, Kakashi sent the lightning beast running jutsu charging itself at Shin. The bounty hunter raised his right hand up and a wave of chakra emanated through the air. A thin see-through wall of purple crystal formed out of thin air and acted as shield, taking the full force of lightning beast running jutsu. Kakashi's jutsu dissipated into the air afterwards. "You have the crystal release Kekkei Genkai," Kakashi remarked after seeing his attack blocked so effortlessly. "You're half right," Shin replied hard-heartedly. "If you're so sure you're going to kill me, then you can share all your secrets." Kakashi tried to tempt the bounty hunter into revealing the truth behind his Kekkei Genkai. "Kakashi, you are indeed a true ninja. Even in the face of certain death you're still trying to gather information. This reminds me of the first stage of the Chunin exams." Shin scoffed condescendingly. "I've learned one thing, you were at one stage a ninja who took the Chunin exams. You must have taken the exams with that specific requirement. You probably know that every year a different village hosts the exams and each one's exam has different requirements. So by giving me the specific detail of the exam you took you are feeding some information. You want me to think you took your exam in Konoha?" Kakashi theorized. "You are indeed a ninja worthy of becoming Hokage someday. I'm sorry that I have to end your life here." Shin's voice returned to its normal emotionless tone. "You seem to be avoiding the issue of your Kekkei Genkai," Kakashi reminded. "Take a trip down memory lane, Kakashi. How did you obtain your Sharingan?" "From Obito Uchiha, I'm certain of my facts with this issue. Your friend's dying wish was for you to have his Kekkei Genkai as a gift. My story is very familiar but also very different," Shin answered. "The crystal release Kekkei Genkai was supposedly connected to a Togakur. You must have some connection to Orochimaru." Kakashi fished for more information. "Orochimaru is a true product of this ninja world. You couldn't see my point of view before. All I want is peace through the destruction of this ninja world. In this world, peace is not the absence of conflict but the ability to cope with it. For too long we've just coped with all the pain and suffering but no more. Konoha is essentially the epitome of what corruption is." Shin spoke his words cold, almost mechanical, like he had said this same speech countless times before. Sensing a brief and fleeting opportunity, Kakashi slammed both his hands down onto the statue. Earth style. Hidden Mole Jutsu. The ground beneath Kakashi became soft and the Jonin disappeared into it. Shin placed his right hand to stone surface below him. After a few seconds of concentrating, a crystal spear shot out of the ground with Kakashi on it. The crystal spear had penetrated his heart. "Damn it, where'd they go?" Kiba screamed as he sniffed the air. "He was so fast. He made Lee look like an amateur," Tenten admitted. "This is bad, everyone keep up a defensive position around Temari." Shikamaru gave the order, much to Suna Ninja's chagrin. As the Konoha ninja took up their defensive positions, doubts and fear crept into some of their minds. Although they were trained to be courageous in the face of death, they were still human, and as hard as they fought to suppress their emotions, they still had them. Ino planted her feet firmly, trying her best not to shake. The blonde's face was pale white as her lip trembled. Both her hands gripped tightly on a single kunai. Her eyes constantly darted in every direction, searching for a sign of the assailant. He took Kakashi. It all happened so fast. If he could get to Kakashi like that, I have no chance against him. Please Kakashi-sensei, be alive. Next to Ino was a pink-haired Kunoichi. Sakura could feel her leg muscles tightening before going stiff, along with her knees locking. Beads of sweat formed on her forehead, trickling down face. Her heart raced, it felt like exploding. The truth was that it had been years since she and Ino had been sent out into the field. Normally they were left safe and sound in the Konoha hospital. If Sasuke was here, we'd all be safe. I'd even settle for Niji or Lee at a time like this. They may be able to match this guy for speed. "Kiba, do you smell anything?" Shikamaru asked as he channeled his jutsu through his chakra blades. "That guy has no scent and Kakashi's scent is completely gone. The bounty hunter must have been using a space-time jutsu," Kiba remarked as he concentrated his chakra to his nose. "So we're fighting something along the lines of the technique used by the fourth Hokage?" Tenten asked as she half unrolled a small scroll she had hidden in her clothes. "I pray we're not," Shikamaru conceded, dropping his head. "Was the fourth Hokage's technique that powerful?" Temari asked, surprised. "That technique earned him the name Konoha's Yellow Flash. Enemy ninja had to flee on side order when it came to him. The power of the Flying Thunder God Jutsu put Konoha on the map." If this technique used by the bounty hunter is half as powerful as the flying thunder, god jutsu, we're sitting ducks without a Byakugan or Sharingan. Shikamaru explained. We should be prepared for anything. Choji said as he played with what looked like a yellow food pill. Shin stood still admiring his work, looking at the dead Jonin. Unexpectedly, Kakashi's body burst into smoke. The instant that happened, the stone surface behind Shin broke open and the real Kakashi erupted out of the ground with his right hand extended. His hand was covered in lightning chakra that was shaped into a blade. Lightning blade. Kakashi shouted as he drove his jutsu through the bounty hunter. After landing, Kakashi looked at his hand. He had a black cloak on his arm. He had aimed his jutsu directly at Shin's heart, but somehow the bounty hunter escaped, leveling behind his cloak. Ripping the cloak of his arm, the Jonin looked around searching for his foe. To Kakashi's horror, he spotted the bounty hunter. He was wearing a standard Konoha Anbu uniform without the arm guards or the gloves. On the inside of Shin's left forearm there were 7 circle tattoos with different kanji in each one. This time the bottom of Shin's face was covered by a mask exactly like Kakashi's own. With his straw hat still on, his face remained hidden. I see where you get your crystal release from. Kakashi noted. You noticed that? Shin was lightly amused. It's hard not to. Kakashi pointed his Sharingan. Your right and left hand are different. Your right is a transplant. I assume from a crystal user. A Sharingan is indeed a powerful Kekkei Genkai. The bounty hunter flexed his right hand. There were 2 seals, one on his palm and the other on the back of his hand. The seal was a circle with 2 triangles intersecting so that the tip of one touched the base of the other. Think Roy Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist, alchemy glove transmutation circles. Inside the triangles were tiny unreadable kanji. Nice imitation Anbu uniform. This is the real deal. It was given to me by a former Anbu of Konoha. The one-sided staring contest began, with Kakashi trying to get a good look at his foe. The Jonin could only theorize that Shin knew the workings of his Sharingan and planned to hide his face. As Kakashi tried to formulate a plan, the bounty hunter raised his right arm towards Kakashi. Crystal spikes burst from the stone surface in different directions and headed towards the copy ninja. Reacting on the instinct, Kakashi leapt into the air, avoiding the crystal attack. Drawing his kunai, he descended on his enemy. A pink energy formed in Shin's hand before forming into a crystal kunai. The Konoha ninja dove with his weapon pointed at his target. Reacting accordingly, Shin swung his arm into the air using his crystal kunai to deflect Kakashi. After being knocked away, Kakashi landed on his feet and charged. Every swipe that the legendary copy ninja delivered was skillfully blocked by the bounty hunter. Jumping backwards, Kakashi threw his kunai. Shin responded by throwing his. The 2 weapons met, hitting each other before being sent in different directions from the source. Sensing he was at a disadvantage, Kakashi ran to edge of the statue and jumped into the waterfall. Using a great amount of skill, the copy ninja ran down the rushing water. When he reached the river of the bottom, he found Shin waiting for him. A smile grew under Kakashi's mask as he began to cast hand seals. After the 44th seal, he stopped and a large dragon made of water emerged from the water under him. That last time you were here was when you carried 2 beaten boys back to your village, only for them to be declared missing in a few days later. Shin taunted Kakashi with his greatest regret. As much as I enjoyed talking to you, this ends now. Water style. Water dragon jutsu. Kakashi shouted, bringing his hands forward. The giant dragon made of water followed the motion of Kakashi's hands and launched itself at Shin. The bounty hunter raised his right hand at the water style jutsu and released a pink pulse of chakra into the attack. The water dragon began changing into a crystal dragon that was now under Shin's control. Shin snapped his fingers and the dragon fell apart, dropping the crystal into the water. So far I'm underwhelmed, Kakashi. I wanted to break a sweat. Looks like I have to kill you sooner than expected. Kakashi realized that he may have made a mistake. He needed the water to preserve his chakra while using the water dragon jutsu. He never expected the crystal release to be this powerful. He was going to go back to his lightning blade. He had already used one that Shin dodged. He needed to be certain that he would hit, or else it would be a waste of chakra. He still had his ultimate trump in his back pocket. It was one of his most powerful jutsu, but it came with the biggest risk. Being so far from any help, his body would be left helpless afterwards. The copy ninja needed to stall. You know way too much about Kanoha to be some random bounty hunter. Kakashi tried to bait Shin in. I'm not some random bounty hunter, I'm the best. No bounty has ever escaped my clutches. I know everything about your village, it's amazing what money can buy you these days. Shin laughed. The laughter made Kakashi grow more worried. It was an insane, evil kind of laugh. It sent shivers down the spine of the Jonin. You don't expect me to believe that someone is selling our secrets. If I was planning a coup d'etat, I would also want the Hokage to be completely vulnerable. Under his mask, Kakashi gritted his teeth. Was Danzo really planning to overthrow Tsunade? It was a rumor when the 5th Hokage was first given her position. A high alert was placed on the old warmonger and his root division. Was this the truth or was Shin trying to get under his skin? How can I take anything you say for face value? Kakashi asked point blank. You can't. Everything I said could have been a lie. Shin answered. Kakashi reached into one of his pouches and grabbed 3 shuriken and throwing them in one swift motion. Shin shook his head while waving right hand through the air, leaving behind a pink trail of chakra. From the chakra 3 crystal shuriken emerged and went on to deflect Kakashi's shuriken. The copy ninja sprinted across the water, heading for a physical battle. With a powerful burst of speed the Jonin unleashed a barrage of punches and kicks, all of which were avoided by Shin. As Kakashi slowed down another Kakashi emerged from the water and entered into the battle. They battled at half the speed of the first onslaught but were still too fast for the untrained eye. Shin continued to dodge. Losing his patience Shin grabbed the heads of both the Kakashis and slammed them together, causing them to burst into water. As the bounty hunter searched for the real deal a massive dragon made of water erupted through the surface. Turning to face the dragon Shin held out his right hand. As the dragon crystallized the real Kakashi appeared behind Shin and drove his hand through Shin's chest. Lightning blade. Kakashi yelled after his hand burst through the front of Shin's chest. Kakashi's eyes widened as the body around his hand turned to crystal and broke apart. The Jonin couldn't believe it. Again this bounty hunter had beaten his Sharingan. The sounds of birds chirping began to echo through Final Valley as Kakashi turned around. His body went stiff as he saw Shin. The bounty hunter was hunched over with his left hand extended downwards and his right hand on his left wrist. There was a white shapeless mass of lightning chakra gathered in Shin's left hand. Sparks were being emitted from the chakra, this was the source of the bird noise. Chidori. 1,000 birds. In a single leap Shin covered the 100 meters between the two of them. Thrusting his left arm forward he was met with Kakashi's own left hand that was also covered in lightning chakra. The two combatants pushed against each to see which technique would win out. How did you learn that move? Kakashi demanded to know as he struggled to maintain a constant flow of chakra. Observation, my dear Kakashi. Shin mocked as he gained an edge. Shin pushed through Kakashi's hand and drove his jutsu into a wooden log. A few hundred meters away the Jonin kneeled over catching his breath after using a continuous lightning blade. Thoughts began to creep into his head, he only had one move left. If he used that move in his current state he would be dead. As he weighed the option Shin surprised him by delivering a swift upper kick that launched the Jonin high into the air. Kakashi was shocked by the sheer power in the kick, he was now well above the statue Madara Uchiha. Then Kakashi's Sharingan picked up someone behind him mirroring his movement through the air. At the apex of his flight Kakashi felt a powerful kick to his side. Shin's kick allowed him to move above Kakashi. As they fell Shin rotated and delivered a crushing heel kick to the Jonin, sending him crashing through the statue of Madara. Kakashi hit the stone artwork like a missile sending shockwaves through it. As the statue collapsed the waterfall washed it away. We've been standing like this for over an hour. Kiba barked. Don't lose focus, they could be waiting for us to drop our guard and swoop in. Tenten reprimanded her teammate. Tenten is right. We can't let our guard down. Choji chimed in. Guys, it's been an hour. We might have to face the fact that Kakashi is dead. Shikamaru said coldly. Don't say that. Kakashi can't die. His Kakashi, he is the Sharingan warrior. Sakura sobbed doing her best not to cry. The pineapple boy is right. It's been an hour since the bounty hunter took Kakashi. Chances of him being alive are slim. If he was alive he would have found a way to contact us. Anko let out. Oh god, if he killed Kakashi we're going to be no match for him. Ino yelled. You're pathetic. Tamari exploded. Your sensei has been taken and all you can do is stand around and guard me. I don't need your protection. We should be searching for the man who took Kankuro and Kakashi and killed Baki. Forget about this, I'm going to look for that forsaken bounty hunter. As the Suna Kunoichi tried to leave Shikamaru grabbed onto her hand. We can't let you go off. We have to take you back to Konoha. The future married couple locked eyes. Shikamaru refused to back down as she stared daggers into his soul. He could see her grit her teeth, she didn't want to hurt him, but he knew he was pushing her to it. If you leave and something happens it could start a war between Konoha and Suna. Shikamaru pleaded. So that's what you're so worried about. You just want to prevent a war. There was subtle hint of disappointment in her voice. If you don't want to come back we can always carry you. Kiba smirked breaking his knuckles. Please listen to reason. We can't afford to lose any more people. We're wasting valuable time here. The faster we get to Konoha the faster we can get a tracking team here. Sakura cried out. That's the only way we can help Kakashi. Ino lied. She just wanted to get back to the Konoha hospital. I'm taking charge of you bunch of pansies. We should split up into 2 groups. Anko announced. Are you crazy? We should all stick together. That way we can fight off any enemy. Choji blurted out. All eyes turned to Shikamaru. Ino, Sakura, Kiba and Tenten hated the fact that during a crisis on a mission the former Nara was awarded automatic captaincy over them. It was a new rule put in place a few years ago, all the Jonin were given a ranking. Kakashi was given the first place, followed by Gai, Niji and Shikamaru. Many of the older Jonin hated this system. It was put in place so that if a captain of a mission dies or is unable to take charge, another Jonin would take his place. If there were more than one possible replacement, the highest ranking Jonin would take charge. There were rankings for Chunin and Genin as well in case there were no Jonin available. The truth behind these rankings was so Tsunade could exert more control over Danzo and Root. Shikamaru sighed heavily. He hated being the fourth highest ranked Jonin. Tsunade said it was because of his intelligence, but he knew it was because he believed in Naruto's innocence. In fact, the top 10 ranked Jonin were all people who believed in Naruto. Anko is right according to protocol, but given the situation we should move as one large unit. We'll move out in a single file. Kiba will be up front using his nose to check for enemies or traps. Tenten will follow, she'll be able to launch a massive weapon-based assault without much preparation, should we need it. Temari will be third given her long-range techniques. I'll be next. Ino and Sakura will follow me, truth is they have no practical skills for this kind of formation, but they are our medical nin, so in that position they will be safe. Choji and Anko will be last, they'll be able to hold the rear. Let's move out. Tsunade sat in her office sipping sake as Shizune watched her in awe. The Hokage was 5 bottles down and still able to continue. The assistant was in actuality feigning her surprise. Shizune had become accustomed to the heavy drinking of her sensei, but she didn't like it. In a stroke of brilliance, Shizune had special sake that tasted the same but contained less alcohol made. Is it just me or has your chest gotten bigger? A familiar voice rang from the window. Jiraiya, you old pervert. Tsunade smiled, lifting up her glass. Shizune didn't greet the toad sage, instead she used her right hand to draw 3 needles from her left sleeve. She didn't want the Hokage to be taken advantage of. Jiraiya laughed uneasily upon seeing the assistant's weapons. Easy there girlie, I just came to talk. It's okay Shizune, if he gets 2 hands on I'll break them off. Tsunade threatened, taking another large sip. Shizune, I need you to activate the council seal. Jiraiya requested, the smile evaporating from his face. The council seal was a seal created by the 4th Hokage but completed by Jiraiya. Its purpose was to prevent anybody outside of the room finding out what was going on inside. It was only used for top secret S-rank briefings or when they feared Danzo would be eavesdropping. Shizune placed her hand on the door and concentrated her chakra. Several lines appeared across the room, indicating that the seal had been set. Did you find them? Did you find Naruto and Sasuke? Tsunade asked, her voice filled with hope and regret. No, I'm sorry my old friend. Jiraiya answered as the Hokage's head dropped. But I will keep searching. Then what is so important we have to use the council seal? Shizune questioned, in the past they had only used the seal to discuss Naruto. It's about Orochimaru. He is dead. Jiraiya explained. Who killed him? Tsunade stuttered. I don't know. Orochimaru has been dead for 5 years. Atogakure did extremely well to keep his death a secret for all this time. They had different people over the years pose as Orochimaru. Jiraiya continued. You must have some idea. Tsunade was now trying to get up but was woozy from the sake. 5 years ago there was this unexplained happening, Odo Ninja died drawing the same figure. We take this event as part of the death Orochimaru, we could have a clue. Jiraiya went on. Well, what did they draw? Shizune asked the question as Tsunade struggled to think. They drew circles in a ripple pattern. Jiraiya pulled out a piece of paper and handed to Shizune. This doesn't make much sense. Shizune examined the picture as Tsunade finally got her balance. I can't believe the snake is finally dead. I guess that's another weight of my shoulders. The Hokage stumbled forward. Jiraiya leapt from his position and caught Tsunade before she could hit the ground. Unfortunately, the Hokage had spun as she tumbled, resulting in her landing chest first into his hands. This was once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and it was taken by the Toad Sage, who begun to feel up the assets of his drunken friend. He felt like he was in heaven until 3 needles entering the base of his neck paralyzed his entire body. You really are a pervert. Shizune hissed as she helped Tsunade up. I would break every bone in your body, but I'm not in the mood. Tsunade grumbled, looking down at Jiraiya as he regained movement in his body. Sorry about that. He apologized as he picked himself up. I just couldn't help myself. Getting back to business, do you think it was the Akatsuki? Tsunade asked as she remembered that her former friend was once a member of that organization. There is that possibility. But it's been so long since I heard anything about the Akatsuki. Last I heard 3 years ago they attacked the Land of Lightning in Kumagakure, capturing 2 Jinchuriki. The 2 tails, Yujito Nai, and the 8 tails, sealed within 4th Raikage's younger brother, Killer Bee. Jiraiya said. I remember, the 4th Raikage threatened to declare war on the world. It was during his madness that he was killed and a new Raikage named. Tsunade reminisced, recalling how Kumo tried to strike peace treaties with the other hidden villages during the transition. I hope that somewhere out there that Naruto is safe. Shizune whispered to herself, but the other two managed to hear her. The mood in the room was now somber. In the small, dimly lit bar on the outskirts of Konoha, 6 men were gathered. They were the only patrons there, everybody else had been ushered out by Anbu route operatives. Asuma, Shikaku, Choza, Inoichi and Hiashi sat around a table looking at the man who sat at the head, Danzo. Danzo-sama, how goes your appeal to the ninja ranking system? Asuma asked, lighting a cigarette. That hag keeps blocking me off. She says it's a way to keep the ninja of the village working hard. We all know that's a load of bull. She just wants to push the ninja she likes to the top. Look at the top 10 jonin. Kakashi Haddock, Might Guy, Niji Hyuga, Shikamaru, Shizune, Rock Lee, Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburam, Kurenai Yuhi and Konohamaru Sarutobi. Danzo spat. Just thinking about those rankings makes my blood boil. My son is 16th and I'm 19th. Choza roared. You think that's bad? My daughter is 15th and I sit at number 25. Inoichi remarked. These rankings do not take into account what type of jonin you are. This is just a way for the Hokage to control us. Shikaku said. Exactly, Tsunade is past her usefulness. These rankings were the last straw. This is an outrage. So many fine ninja have been outranked by this young will of fire generation. Danzo continued his tirade. You have the full support of the Hyuga clan aside from Niji and Hinata. How could she place a member of the branch family above me? Hiashi was furious, he had trouble containing the charka that he was subconsciously sending to his fingertips as he tapped the table. Let's not forget about the Hokage ranking your, how you put it, failure of a daughter above you. Asuma laughed. Asuma, will the Sarutobi clan follow through with the plan? Danzo questioned. Asuma took one last pull of his cigarette before putting it out. Loyalty is split, if it comes down to it, the younger half of the clan will follow Konohamaru. I knew that brat would be trouble. What about the other clans? Danzo continued. Shikaku, Choza, Inoichi just nodded their heads to signal yes. Should we have to fight we can definitely count on resistance from the Aburam clan, Inyazuka clan and Karama clan. Although a few youngsters from the Inyazuka clan led by Kiba would help us. Shikaku added. I'm not feeling up to this. Choza confessed, struggling to control his excessive swallowing. Choza, you accept my offer and agree with my idea. Danzo stated boldly. I accept your offer and agree with your idea. Choza repeated almost mindlessly. I must say you seem to have a gift with words. Asuma mocked as he lit a new smoke. Doesn't it bother you that your wife is ranked higher than you? Hiashi asked. Asuma just pulled on his cigarette and gave the Hyuga a strange look. Kurenai worked hard all her life, she deserves some recognition. It helps to ease her guilt for the things she's done. If anyone should feel ashamed, it's Shikaku. Inoichi laughed. What do I have to ashamed about? The Nara questioned, folding his arms. Your son is ranked 20 positions higher than you and he is pushing for your role as Jonin commander. Choza chimed in. Once Danzo-sama is in charge we won't have to worry about Shikamaru being a threat. As per the plan, the top 10 Jonin will be wiped out as soon as the Hokage falls. Shikaku smirked. You just said you were going to kill my wife and the mother of my child, yet I don't mind. Asuma laughed as if he was drunk. Good, it seems we're all on the same page. Let us proceed to matter of Konohamaru Sarutobi. Danzo got everyone's attention. The brat has a mission to a small village on the border of the Land of Fire. Shikaku spoke up. This is perfect. I will have 3 members from Anburu take care of the brat and make sure witnesses see Asuna ninja do the deed. Danzo laughed malevolently. Why would you frame Suna? Inoichi asked. It's simple, I could never respect a village that would make a Jinchuriki its cage. Ever since Suna lost Gaara I've been waiting for the perfect opportunity to crush them. If it is found out that Suna has killed the future head of the Sarutobi clan and grandson of the 3rd Hokage, we will have no choice but to go to war. And during this war we might lose our current Hokage as collateral damage. Danzo continued with his wicked tone. That's just a suggestion. But we do need to kill that brat. Kakashi dragged himself onto the shore of the lake near Final Valley. All the strength in his body was gone, he had only a few minutes left to live. Next to him was a conical straw hat, the same hat worn by Shin. The bounty hunter kneeled down next to the Jonin and picked up his hat. Kakashi channeled all the chakra he had left into his Sharingan to get a look at Shin's face, but all he saw was the forehead protector worn by the bounty hunter. It was a Konoha forehead protector with a gash running across it. Kakashi was certain he had seen it before. Shin stood above the beaten Jonin. Extending his left arm he focused his lightning nature chakra into his palm, forming a blade of electricity. As he prepared to deliver the final blow he felt the presence of someone else. Stop. A voice colder than Shin's called out. Shin turned to face the source of the voice. The new person had dark eyes and black hair that hung near his cheeks to frame his face, while the rest of it was kept in a ponytail. He was wearing a long, dark cloak with red clouds and a chin-high collar. Itachi Nai-san. Shin stuttered. Itachi Nai-san. Shin stuttered. You've gotten sloppy, kid. Itachi responded, throwing Shin the tattered cloak Kakashi had hit with lightning blade. I was just playing around with him. I could have killed him before this fight even started. Shin smirked as he lowered his mask. I thought I told you getting revenge on Konoha won't fill the hole in your soul. Itachi tried to reason. Shouldn't you be resting back at the base? The overuse of your Mangekyo Sharingan has left you practical blind. You can't even activate your Sharingan anymore. Shin hissed. Yes, overuse from protecting you. I may be almost blind, but I can see clearer than you. Pick him up, he's coming with us to our base. Itachi barked, turning around and walking away. Why should I carry him? Shin asked, ticked off. He carried you back when he found you here. Itachi stopped and answered before continuing. Mumbling curse words under his breath, Shin picked up Kakashi in a fireman carry position. The two walked away from Final Valley with Itachi leading the way. His eyes were closed as he concentrated his chakra into his other senses. And I just used the Flying Thunder God Jutsu to get us back to base. Shin complained. We will walk. You lack discipline. I am your sensei and you are openly violating my wishes. Itachi answered. But Kurigakure is so far away. What was the point of learning the Flying Thunder God Jutsu in the first place? Shin grumbled. It was a jutsu created by the fourth Hokage. I was hoping in learning that jutsu you would share his love for Konoha. Itachi explained. When a man learns to love, he must bear the risk of hatred. Shin replied coldly. That was a line used by Madara. What about your goal in life? Itachi asked. That goal died the day Konoha betrayed me. I have long since closed my eyes. My only goal is in the darkness. The two walked in silence, not speaking. Occasionally Kakashi would stir, but not enough to cause alarm. Shin felt a strong force building up in Itachi. If he didn't act soon, he feared Itachi may try activating his Sharingan. You're not thinking about trying your Tsukiyomi on me. Your eyes would be destroyed, and for what? Tsukiyomi wouldn't work on. I'd easily break out. You know the whole blood thing. Shin remarked. Then how do I drill home my point to you? Protecting Konoha is in my blood. It's in your blood as well. I can't sit by and watch you destroy the village I love. Itachi barked. The same village that made you eradicate the entire Uchiha clan to avoid a civil war. Look at those dogs now, they are on the verge of a civil war. All that Uchiha blood was spilt for naught. The village will crumble by my hands. Then at last I can lay his memory to rest. Shin growled. I know the feeling, I lost my best friend Shisui too. But his death served a purpose. Itachi continued. Lost your best friend? Danzo and the third Hokage had you kill him so you would gain the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan and use it to destroy the Uchiha clan. Shin spat with growing distaste. The outburst from the bounty hunter caused Itachi to stop walking. Itachi turned to face Shin, which caused the bounty hunter to take a step back. A stream of red liquid was crawling down Itachi's cheek from his left eye. Shin dropped Kakashi off his shoulders and ran to catch Itachi, who had just collapsed. I collect all these bounties and spend the money on doctors for what? With the cash I spent on you I could have bought a small country. And what do? You try and use your Sharingan and strain your eyes even more. Shin grumbled as he used his left hand to channel chakra into Itachi's head. Letting out an exasperated sigh, he picked Itachi over his left shoulder and Kakashi over his right. If I had just done this in the first place you'd be fine. In a bright yellow flash the three of them were gone. At the gates of Konoha the guards on duty could see a running formation. Kiba led, followed by Tenten, Temari, Shikamaru, Ino, Sakura, Choji and Anko. Once they were at the gates they slowly down their rapid pace and stopped. Tenten, Ino, Sakura and Choji were worse off than the others as they struggled to catch their breaths. Shizune ran into the Hokage's office with a worried expression plastered on her face. Shikamaru had called for an emergency meeting so he could brief the higher-ups on what had taken place. An hour passed since Shizune interrupted Tsunade's drinking time. They were now gathered in a large room. In the room was one long, wide rectangular table. At the head of the table was Tsunade, the first person on her left was Jiraiya. The remainder of the left side was occupied by Might Guy, Rock Lee, Niji, Hinata, Shikamaru, Temari, Anko, Shino, Kurenai and Konohamaru. On the right side of the table was Hamura, Kaharu, Danzo, Asuma, Shikaku, Sakura, Ino, Choji, Tenten, Kiba and a masked member of Root. As per my report, we believe Kakashi-sensei was captured by the same bounty hunter who killed Baki and Kankuro Suna. Shikamaru sated from his place. Forget about Haddock, tell us about the jutsu used by the bounty hunter. The one you claimed was similar to the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Kaharu asked coldly, causing many of the ninja gathered to shudder. What do you mean forget? We need to send a tracking team to find my eternal rival. Guy burst out with comic-style tears flowing down his face. Know your place, Guy. Danzo scolded. Kakashi is lost to us. We have a bigger concern. The Flying Thunder God Jutsu can be used to easily bypass our defenses. A similar jutsu would provide the same problem. Are you sure it was the Flying Thunder God Jutsu? How can you be sure? Homura questioned. It was faint, but I saw a hint of yellow energy in the aftermath of the jutsu. He tried to conceal it, but he didn't succeed. Choji spoke up. Like I, Jiraiya, Niji, Hinata and Shino. I'm dispatching you to the Great Naruto Bridge. Jiraiya, your mission is to find out as much as you can about this bounty hunter. There can be a lot of bounty hunters who wear black cloaks with a kanji for truth on them, should be easy for you. Guy, Niji, Hinata and Shino, you will be the team in charge of tracking down Kakashi. Tsunade ordered. Okage-sama, are you mad? We can't send a Hyuga, let alone two after this bounty hunter. The Byakugan fetches a high price on the black market. Danzo shouted. You're right. Lee, you will take a squad of my personal Anbu and escort the tracking team. Tsunade shot a looking at Danzo, warning him not to interrupt her. If that is the case, allow me to send a squad of my root division. Danzo continued his rant. I'm sure the ninja I have in mind are more than enough. Tsunade tried to reason. You don't seem to understand the gravity of the situation. The Flying Thunder God Jutsu is the fourth Hokage's legacy. Danzo crowed. Fourth Hokage's legacy? Jiraiya screamed, slamming his fist into the table. The only legacy Minato truly cared about was his son. You mean the demon brat? Koharu laughed. Tsunade acted quickly, putting herself in front of the Toad Sage to stop him from massacring the old woman. Forcefully, the Hokage put Jiraiya back into his seat. You should really control your friend better. Shikaku interjected, earning himself a glare from the Hokage. And you should learn your place. Tsunade shot back. The atmosphere in the room was intense. A fear of one wrong word provoking a reaction overcame everyone. Danzo-sama, I was part of the mission to the Land of Waves. I agree that a squad of root ninja would be beneficial. Tenten added out of the blue. Sakura, Ino and Kiba would vouch for my opinion. The three who were named simply nodded. I was also there. A squad of root would not help anybody. As far as I'm concerned, the only people who can handle this mission are Guy-sensei and Lee. They are the two fastest ninja in Konoha. Any more than two squads will just get in their way. If they require backup, Jiraiya would be able to support them. Shikamaru pointed out, much to Danzo's frustration. Shikamaru makes a valid point. The tracking and recovering teams are as I explained earlier. Now to the next matter, the teams that will escort Temari to Suna. Tsunade brought up the matter before being interrupted. Why should we waste valuable resources on that? Danzo questioned. Interrupt me one more time and I will remove your throat. Suna are our allies, and also should the bounty hunter decide to attack her, we will stand a better chance of capturing him. Tsunade's eyes were filled with an intense glare. Danzo closed his mouth and remained silent. Shikamaru, Anko, Kurenai and Konohamaru will lead a team of my Anbu to Suna. Tsunade finished off. That hag has changed the Sarutobi brat's mission. I'll have to call of the root squad I assigned to kill him. Danzo mulled over as he sat silently. Shin landed with a loud thud. He wasn't used to carrying two people when using the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. He was in a large room that appeared to be in a cave. It was actually a hollowed-out mountainside. It was well lit up with lamps attached to the roof. Scattered across the room were various scrolls and ninja tools. On the far right side of the room there were two futons, and on the left side one futon. There was one large table with 3 chairs around it in the middle of the room. Shin's loud landing alerted someone who was sitting at the table, causing her to spring up. She had red eyes that matched her hair color. Her hair was short, pointy, and unkempt on the right side, while it was long, pinned straight and combed on her left side. She wore brown glasses, a lavender shirt coat like a small ab coat to cover her ample chest, knee-length black shorts, and long black thigh-high stockings with black sandals. The red head could best be described as having an hourglass figure. She raced to Shin's side and allowed him to lean Itachi on her. The redhead led Itachi to one of the futons on the right. After laying down the Uchiha, she rejoined Shin, who dropped Kakashi onto the hard stone floor. Kakashi Haddock, is he our next bounty? She asked, removing Shin's hat. No, Itachi Nai-san wants to keep him alive. Shin looked over the lifeless Jonin. Well, that's a waste of good money. I really could have used some new equipment. She said as she removed Shin's mask completely. Karen, I'm not in the mood to argue today. He replied. I guess beating your former sensei to a pulp will do that to you. Do you want to talk about it, Shin-sama? She offered. How many times have I told you, call me Shin? He sighed. You saved me from Orochimaru. I guess I just can't stop. She tried to laugh. A groan from Kakashi caught both of their attention. Shin walked over to Kakashi and dragged him by his flak jacket to the table in the middle of the room. Karen swept all the books and scrolls of the table and Shin threw Kakashi onto it. Shin raised his right hand over Kakashi. Crystal art. Healing coffin. Shin stated as a coffin made of crystal encased the copy ninja's body. You could have had him bite me. Karen said. Shin clenched his fist. I told you never to do that again. He grabbed her arm and pulled back her sleeves to reveal unhealing bite marks. I don't do anything else. You two keep me safe, you gave me this home. You accepted me into your lives and you saw past the fact of what Orochimaru made me and you showed me love. You do everything for me and I do nothing. She sobbed. Look at this. Shin shouted, holding out his right hand, gesturing to the seals. You did this. When I lost my hand, you attached this one and came up with the seals that would allow this hand to be accepted by my body and have access its Kekkei Genkai. That's the only thing I've done for you. You saved me from Orochimaru and Itagiker. Not to mention all those people who tried to get revenge on me for experimenting on them. A moment of silence fell after she had brought up the experiments. A tiny smile grew across Shin's face. And if it wasn't for you conducting those experiments, I would have never been able to cast jutsu again. Shin smirked. Haven't you two ever heard of using your indoor voices? Itachi interrupted, waking up from the futon. Back to bed, Itachi Nai-san. Shin shouted. I cash in bounties worth close to 10 million ryo at least once a month and we still live like this. The drugs you need are really expensive. I never ask you to take care of me. Itachi hit back. I know you never did, but Shin was lost for words. Eren was slowly backing away from Shin as he was losing the argument. Eren, weren't you supposed to keep Itachi Nai-san in the base? Shin noted, turning to the redhead. He told me he was going for a walk. She laughed uncomfortably. Shin just continued staring at her. Shin-sama, please stop looking at me like that. I can't move. Karen pleaded. The bounty hunter broke his gaze and turned to the crystal coffin to look at his reflection. He focused on his red eyes, specifically the three tomo around the central pupil. Are you ever going to turn it off? Karen asked, her voice hiding her fear. You know I can't. I can't rest until I destroy Konoha and the rest of this ninja world. Shin lamented. Why must you seek revenge? Can't we just go far away? We'll leave the ninja world behind. Just you and me taking care of Itachi-sama. The redhead was now holding onto Shin's shoulder. I can't forget about revenge. He gave his life so I could live. If I give up on revenge, it means I'm giving up on his memory. The bounty hunter gritted his teeth, holding back his emotions. Eren knew what he was talking about and looked across the room to the futon next to Itachi's. Next to the futon on the wall was a picture held up by a kunai. In the picture was Kakashi with three much younger people, a pink-haired girl, a blonde boy and another boy with spiky black hair. That day both Naruto and Sasuke died. Shin growled as the three tomo in each eye merged together to form a six-pointed circular star. It looked like three thin ovals overlapped horizontally and diagonally. This time the colors were reversed, with the central star-shaped pattern being red and the rest of his eyes black. In the center of his eyes was still the small black pupil. Eren tightened her grip on his shoulders, calming him down and causing his eyes to revert to their original form with three tomo. You're not as perfect as you think you are. You are still controlled by emotions. Itachi noted as he joined them on the other side of the table. Itachi Nai-san, don't do anything reckless while Karen and I are out. Shin said as he performed a hand seal and said release to reveal a hidden chest. Shin opened the chest, took out a new black cloak with the kanji for truth on it. After he put on the cloak, Karen slipped on his mask and conical straw hat. Shin grabbed the redhead by her hand and then disappeared. 4 hours after the emergency meeting at the main gate of Konoha, the teams gathered for their mission. Guy, Neji, Hinata and Shino stood in a diamond formation with Guy at the lead. Next to them were Rock Lee taking the lead in the same formation with 3 Anbu. Lee, you are the captains of your respective squads. Guy, overall you're in charge of the entire mission. Tsunade confirmed with her ninja. Yosh. The flames of youth burn brightly in me, I will find my eternal rival. Guy cried. Okage-sama, where is Jiraiya-sama? Shouldn't he be leaving with us? Lee brought up the absent toad sage. The old pervert left right after the meeting. He said it was better if he left alone. Tsunade laughed. Wait. Shizune screamed as she came running to the gates. The Hokage's assistant was carrying 2 small satchels. Catching her breath, she handed the satchels to Guy and Lee. These contain special food pills. They were made specifically for you two to use. It'll help you open your 8 gates. What a wonderful gift. It was now Lee's turn for the waterworks. Sensei, we should be leaving now. Neji tried to get his captain's attention. Youth waits for no man. Guy laughed. I just hope he doesn't talk about youth during the whole mission. Hinata whispered to no one particularly. I believe he will. Shino answered, shocking the Hyuga. The 2 squads set off running. As Tsunade waited, she was joined by Temari, Shikamaru, Anko, Kurenai and Konohamaru. They were each carrying very large backpacks for the long trip to Suna. Temari, I'm truly sorry for what happened to your brother. Konoha will offer their full support in finding the villain. Tsunade said. Thank you, Hokage-sama. When I become the new Kazekage, I will remember your kindness. Temari thanked with a bow. You, the Kazekage? Konohamaru blurted out, stunned. Konohamaru, don't be rude. Kurenai scolded, delivering a swift hit to the young man's head. Yes, my brother Kankuro was supposed to become the 7th Kazekage. The 6th Kazekage has grown old and weak. Tamari explained. She was old and weak to start off with, but you get the idea. Anzo is going to have a freak heart attack. He was definitely expecting a man to take that role. Anko laughed. Looks like Shikamaru is going to end up being a trophy husband. Shizune joked. At least I'm getting married. Shikamaru shot back, causing Shizune to collapse. Enough of this. Tsunade spoke as a team of Anbu joined them. It's time you move out. But that the ninja all nodded and set off. Are we doing the right thing? Tsunade asked, picking Shizune up. Of course, Hokage-sama. Don't let Danzo mess with your mind. Don't you just love the land of rivers? Karen smiled as she walked down a not-so-busy market. A few steps behind was Shin in his full disguise. Wait here, Karen. I'm going to have a word with the old man. Karen nodded gleefully as Shin disappeared. She began to examine the different fruit and vegetables, deciding to buy some for dinner. As she was finished loading a bag full of ingredients, she turned and walked into someone. He was a tall man with waist-length spiky white hair that was tied back into a ponytail, with 2 shoulder-length bangs that framed both sides of his face. He had red lines that ran down from his eyes and wore a horned forehead protector with a kanji for oil. He wore a green short shirt, kimono and matching pants, under which he wore mesh armor that showed out of the sleeves and legs of his outfit. Over his clothes he wore a red cloak. The force of bumping into the man caused the redhead to drop her bag. The man bowed and apologized while trying to help her. Your tomatoes are really firm. He said as her face turned red. Get your hands off me. She shouted, sending a slap across his face. A beautiful woman with such strength, how rare. The man continued until he saw someone standing over her shoulder. Shin looked over Karen at the man who was causing all the commotion. He didn't need an incident in the land of rivers. Karen, let's leave this old pervert and go. Shin grumbled. Right, Shin-sama, he isn't worth our time. She said, sending a threatening glare at the old man who groped her. As they turned and walked, Jiraiya saw the back of Shin's cloak. Long black cloak, kanji for truth, conical straw hat. It's either I'm extremely lucky or unlucky. Jiraiya thought. Shin and Karen continued to walk. Every so often Karen would try and say something, but Shin would tell it's okay and keep going. The redhead sensed someone following them, but trusted Shin. Leaving the small village they were in, they entered into a forest. Walking along the beaten path through, Karen continued to sense someone. Shin gave her slight nod, and they continued. Jiraiya continued to stalk the 2 people he saw in the market. He followed into the forest and was hiding behind trees. Oops, I dropped something. I better bend over and pick it up. Jiraiya heard Karen say. Peeping around the tree, he saw the redhead bend over in her shorts. The pervert inside him took over as he got closer to get a better view. The toad sage's sense came rushing back to him as he realized he was only a few feet away from her and completely exposed. I can't believe you're such a pervert. Shin laughed, sitting on a branch in a tree behind Jiraiya. Old martial arts sensei, that's a pervert, it seems kind of cliched. Karen mocked. So you were onto me all along, bounty hunter. Jiraiya tried to smile. Ah, so that's it. I thought you were stalking the girl, but you're actually stalking me. Shin disappeared from the tree and reappeared in front of Karen. So it is you. You're the one who took Kakashi. Jiraiya tried to hide the astonishment in his voice. Word travels fast these days. Shin snickered. So your name is Shin. That's a very lovely lady you have there. Is she your prisoner? Jiraiya tried to extract information. All theses Konoha ninja try the same thing, they all want to learn as much as they can, like they will walk away alive. Shin thought. Shin-sama is 100 times the ninja and man you'll ever be, you pervert sage. He doesn't need to peek on innocent woman unlike you. Karen gestured to her body, causing the old man to have a nosebleed. Jiraiya quickly stopped the bleeding by thinking of the time Tsunade almost killed him for peeping. So I see, even cold-blooded bounty hunters need love. I'm kind of hurt. Cold-blooded would be best used to describe your old friend Orochimaru. Not because he is a snake, it is more because he's dead. Shin teased. How do you know that? Atagakur kept that secret for all these years. Jiraiya questioned. It's hard not knowing, seeing as I killed him. Shin droned on as if what he said wasn't important. Jiraiya clenched his fist harder than he realized he was. He began drawing blood from his palms, but he couldn't feel the pain, all he thought about was whether he was hearing the truth or not. If I kill you and then the Hokage, I would have killed all 3 Sannin. That would make me a true legend of the ninja world. Shin continued to mock the toad sage. The standards of Konoha ninja must be pathetic if they consider you a cage-level ninja. Karen caught on to what Shin was trying to do. You think I'm going to let you just walk away? Jiraiya roared. How do you intend to stop me after I kill you? Shin questioned. Shin-sama, his chakra levels aren't very high. He isn't going to cause you much trouble if you fight him for real and don't play around. Orochimaru was twice as strong. Karen whispered. Karen, don't forget the fact that he is a sage. He can increase his chakra rapidly by drawing in nature chakra. Shin whispered back. If you're planning to escape, well then too bad. I'm going to kill you for threatening the Hokage and take her prisoner. Jiraiya barked. Right hand. Shin said. Huh? Jiraiya responded confused. You touched Karen with your right hand. I'm going to make sure I remove it while you're still alive. Shin growled. You still have this weird obsession with removing people's hands. Karen mumbled just loud enough for Shin to hear. One of my few flaws. Shin laughed lightly. Few? Karen thought sarcastically. Jiraiya just stood back watching the two have their conversation. He figured that worst come to worst, he would be able to grab the red head and flee. He needed to gather information on Kakashi before he engaged the foe. Have you cashed in the bounty on Kakashi Hadoukas yet? Jiraiya prodded. What do you care about the copy ninja? Shin asked almost mockingly. Kakashi is a Konoha ninja. If you hurt one of us, you will face the wrath of the entire village. Kanoha is a village established on the will of fire. Jiraiya spoke, his voice filled with conviction. Shin burst out laughing. It was more of an insane laugh than one denoting happiness. Where was this will of fire when you declared Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Chihi missing nin? What do you know of Naruto and Sasuke? Jiraiya demanded to know, all the conviction from earlier was gone. I know that missing nin fetch a high price on the black market. Shin taunted. Shin-sama, this is a fine line you're walking. You might expose yourself. Karen whispered, but the bounty hunter paid her no attention. Naruto can't be dead. He just can't. Jiraiya mumbled to himself. What do you care? You poor excuse for a sensei and godfather. Yes, I know everything about Konoha. I know more about Konoha than you do. I am the angel that will serve supreme justice upon that hive of corruption. Shin announced. I see you're just another ninja with a god complex. Jiraiya tried to laugh. You want to know the difference between me and those other ninja? I have the power to be an actual god. Shin barked. Karen felt shivers run down her spine as she felt a dark presence overtake Shin's chakra. The darkness gave Shin great strength but at a high cost. Shin-sama, it's happening again. You have to control yourself. The redhead was almost in tears. The bounty hunter stopped and began taking deep breaths. The loudness of his breathing was not missed by the toad sage. Jiraiya could feel the darkness and realized he was trying to calm himself. Karen, once we start fighting I want you to run to edge of the forest. I don't want you to see me in my other form. Shin whispered. Karen nodded. The redhead placed her hand on the back of Shin's cloak and channeled her chakra. The back of the cloak split open, allowing Shin to slip out of it. Jiraiya got a good look at Shin in the Konoha Anbu uniform and mask. In one swift movement Shin removed the mask and hat, giving Jiraiya a small heart attack. Why you? Jiraiya faltered, clutching his chest. Why you? Jiraiya faltered, clutching his chest. Yes, me. Shin laughed as Karen took off running. Jiraiya could see Shin's eyes, those red eyes with the three tomo. He wore a Konoha forehead protector with a gash running across it. It was similar to the style done by the Akatsuki, but this was a mark made by battle. It was his hair and face that caused Jiraiya so much pain. The face was almost a mirror image of the fourth Hokage. His hair was spiky and blonde with streaks of black. Min Minato no Naruto. Jiraiya struggled against the pain in his heart. Long time no see, pervy sage. Naruto smiled, giving the old man a mock salute. Those eyes, how? Jiraiya continued to struggle against the pain. For me to have these eyes was Sasuke's dying wish. Naruto's voice went dead. You don't know how long I've searched for you, my boy. The toad sage struggled to hold back tears. I actually do know. Who do you think has been killing all your spies? Naruto smirked. Jiraiya was silent. He couldn't believe the boy he had known all those years ago had turned into a stone-cold killer. What's wrong? Konoha accused me of being a monster, so I didn't want to disappoint them. Naruto hissed. You're not the Naruto we all knew, you're not the Naruto that Tsunade loved like a son, and you're not the Naruto who I searched for because you are something truly evil. Jiraiya yelled. You're right, I'm not. Unlike that weakling, I have complete control of all my Biju. Naruto declared. What do you mean all your Biju? Jiraiya demanded to know. Naruto just smiled at the toad sage, not answering the question. The missing nin raised his right arm and created a blade made of crystal around it. Without warning, Naruto launched himself at Jiraiya. The Sannin quickly revealed a charka short sword that was hidden in his sleeve. Using both hands to grip his blade, Jiraiya strained to hold back the crystal blade from decapitating him. So you killed Kankuro, Baki and Kakashi just to get revenge by framing Konoha and starting a war. Jiraiya continued to hold back Naruto. That's not true. I never killed Kankuro, Kakashi is still alive. I only killed Baki. Naruto was upset that his plan too had been discovered and unleashed a chakra wave that sent Jiraiya crashing into a tree. I guess the only way to get through to you is by fighting. Fire style. Inferno prison. Jiraiya shouted as he picked himself up. The toad sage cast several hand seals and finished on Ox. He then inhaled deeply before releasing a stream of red fire from his mouth. The stream of fire flew through the air and began spiraling around Naruto, creating a tornado of fire. Naruto raised his pointer finger and middle finger while keeping his thumb and other two fingers down on his right hand. The seals on both sides of his hand glowed white and a wave of pink energy surrounded his hand. The fire around the missing nin turned to crystal and then shattered into dust. I don't know how, but you've acquired a Kekkei Genkai. Jiraiya observed. Do actually, Sharingan and crystal release. Naruto remarked. Earlier you said you killed Orochimaru. The survivors from the battle where he died kept drawing rippled pattern circles. If you did kill him, you'd know what those circles were. Jiraiya tried to confirm Naruto's story. I know, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm still trying to decide if I should let you live or not. Maybe I'll take you prisoner and extract information on Konoha from you. Or maybe I'll put you in a genjutsu and have you attack Konoha. Naruto snickered with a cruel grin. I never thought I'd see the day where Naruto would have a genjutsu in his arsenal. Who's been training you for the last 8 years? Jiraiya asked. During the 8 years I've had many people who I called sensei, but Itachi Nai-san taught me the most. Naruto answered. So Itachi Uchiha really did abandon the Akatsuki. According to my sources he is almost blind, but yet still one of the most feared missing nin around. I guess you have something to do with that. Well, I try. Itachi can't use his Sharingan anymore, but mine are in perfect condition. Sasuke's eyes are more powerful than even Madara Uchiha's. I will use these eyes to destroy Konoha. So you've taken on Sasuke's role as an avenger. I always thought the young Uchiha's goal was to kill his brother. Jiraiya said sadly. It was until he found out the truth. The truth about how corrupt Konoha really is. All that blood was shed and for what? For nothing. They said it would bring peace, but it only brought peace for them. Naruto shouted at a confused Jiraiya. Those eyes are distorting your chakra. I'll have to remove them to bring back the old Naruto. Earth style. Stone tomb. Jiraiya placed both his hands on the ground, channeling his chakra. The ground under Naruto shook before 2 large stone tablets emerged in front of and behind the missing nin. The 2 stone tablets slammed into Naruto, trapping him between them. Jiraiya sighed as he thought he captured Naruto. Cracks formed on the stone tablets as red energy could be seen. The cracks grew, causing the tablets to fall apart. Naruto's body was encased by bubbling red chakra, taking on the shape of a fox with 1 tail. Fighting against you, I don't think I have to go past 1 tail. It's been a while since I accessed the 9 tails power like this. Naruto spoke as his canines grew longer and sharper. His hands became more beast-like and his nails grew into claws. Crouching down on all fours he prepared to battle the Sannin. You've finally perfected tapping into the power of your Biju. The Sharingan must be a big help. I remember when I was training you to control that power. It took nothing short of throwing you off a cliff to do it. The 4th Hokage would be proud. Jiraiya reminisced. I hate the 4th Hokage. Since I can't kill him, I'll take killing his sensei. Naruto roared as he launched himself at the Toad Sage. Rock Lee and Guy led their teams from the front as they ran to the Great Naruto Bridge. The Anbu operatives weren't very talkative, even though Lee tried his best to open up to them. Guy-sensei, my body is tingling with youthful excitement at the chance of facing an opponent who could easily capture Kakashi-sensei. Lee spoke as flames engulfed his eyes. Yes, Lee, this will be great experience for you, and when I rescue him, Kakashi will have no choice but to admit that I, Guy, am his equal. Guy replied, taking on the same expression as Lee. Behind the 2 men in green, the Anbu tried not to listen. When we get to the bridge, we're going to have to take things much more seriously. Neji announced, making sure the 2 leaders could hear him. We should discuss searching protocol. Hinata suggested. If we go into this without a well-thought-out plan, it would be disastrous. We had to rush out of the village without consulting Shikamaru because of the urgency of the matter. Shino added. You guys are right, so youthfully right. Neji and Hinata will use their Byakugan to search for markers. Shino's insects will handle tracking down Kakashi's scent. Lee, the Anbu and I will provide cover while you 3 search. Guy explained. What do you mean by markers? Hinata asked. The Flying Thunder God Jutsu is a time-space jutsu that allows you to teleport. But you can't just teleport anywhere. You need something to act as a beacon to teleport to. The 4th Hokage use special kunai with writing on them. So you should look out for any invisible writings. Guy continued. From what Shikamaru told us, we can gather 2 things. The bounty hunter either planned every single detail and Kakashi-sensei walked into the perfect trap, or the bounty hunter planted markers all over that bridge. Since Kakashi-sensei is one of the greatest ninja in Konoha history, it is more likely the 2nd option. Expect the bridge to be littered with markers, meaning the bounty hunter could show up at any time. Neji warned. Everyone nodded in agreement. They were prepared for a fight even though they didn't expect the bounty hunter to show up again. They still could meet trouble from other ninja or criminals who try to sabotage the bridge. Guy-sensei, should we encounter any hostility, how should we proceed? Shino inquired in his usual monotone voice. I see your youth is itching for a battle, young one. Well, if we should enter battle, I'm afraid only Lee, the Anbu and I will engage them. You are only to step in if there is an emergency. Guy answered. Does anybody else have any more questions? Nobody spoke and Guy took this as a sign and began to pick up his pace. The group responded by matching the increase in pace to keep the same formation. I can understand how you feel, but he was your father. Jiraiya shouted as he jumped straight into the air, avoiding Naruto. The nine tails Jinchuriki landed, creating a small explosion as the Toad Sage flew straight into the air. Jiraiya looked down to see Naruto's chakra tail extend into the air and grab onto his leg. After latching onto the sand, the tail retracted, slamming Jiraiya into the ground behind Naruto. How could he do this to me, his own flesh and blood? Naruto roared as he reached out, extending a chakra claw. Jiraiya threw himself further back, dodging the powerful chakra claw. The Sannin realized Naruto was accessing much more power in the one-tail form than he could have expected. If he had to guess, Naruto was now using 1/9 of the fox's full chakra. Ninja art. Raging Lion's mane. Jiraiya shouted, placing his hands together. The Toad Sage's white hair began growing rapidly and extended around his body towards Naruto. The streams of hair wrapped themselves around the chakra-shrouded missing Nin, trying to constrict him into submission. Naruto let out a growl and his chakra burned through Jiraiya's hair, freeing him. Ha ha, you've got to do a lot better than that, old man. Naruto laughed. So the student thinks he has surpassed the master. Jiraiya smirked as he bit his finger and placed his hand on the ground. Summoning jutsu. With a large cloud of smoke, Jiraiya had summoned a giant purple toad that wielded a large spiky metal fork and shield. The toad was also wearing a black karategi. Naruto, meet Mr. Gamaken. Do you think that oversized frog is going to save you? Naruto taunted. The Jinchuriki threw himself at Jiraiya with the Toad Sage countering by jumping onto the head of Gamaken. The giant toad was able to barely block off Naruto's attack with its shield. I have no choice but to use Honored Sage mode. Jiraiya shouted as he bit his hand and used the blood to complete the marking on his face. Then he placed his hands together as he gathered his chakra. As ungraceful as I am, I will do my best to buy you time. Gamaken responded. Naruto crossed his index and middle fingers from both hands. Shadow Fox Clone Jutsu. 3 replicas of the missing Nin appeared. The 3 copies were also shrouded in the fox's chakra, but the clones didn't have a Sharingan like Naruto, instead they had red eyes with slit-like black pupils. With the original behind them, the clones attacked. The clones took off on all fours as Gamaken leapt backwards. The first shadow clone continued on, while the other 2 tried to circle around the giant toad. Using a burst of speed, the second and third clone managed to get ahead of the giant toad. Hover your rear, Mr. Gamaken. Jiraiya shouted. The Sannin summoning spun while jumping and used its shield to block the second clone and its fork to block the third clone. The first clone raced by, using its chakra cover arm to slash Gamaken's leg. The giant toad pushed of the second and third before falling back. A stream of blood began to flow profusely as an infection from the fox's chakra set in. We have to kill one clone at a time. They are hunting us like a pack. Jiraiya noted with his hands still firmly together. Yes, you see I am clumsy. Your plan would work if we could lead them into a small space, but unfortunately we're in a forest and I'm a giant toad. Gamaken said. Another wave of the fox clones' attack began, this time all 3 at the same time. Gamaken jumped into the air and rotated its body rapidly. Hitting the first with a fork, the second with a shield and nailing the third with a roundhouse kick. The giant toad cut its foot on the malicious chakra surrounding the clone. The chakra was protecting the clones, making it hard to destroy them with a hit. Mr. Gamaken, you handle 2 of the clones and leave the third to me. Jiraiya shouted as he leapt at the giant toad. Jiraiya caught the fox clone off guard and started delivering a series of lightning-fast kicks. He was protected from the chakra by his wooden shoes. The clone was rabid, it had no control of itself, and all it sought was blood. Its attacks were sloppy and easily avoided by the Sannin. The other 2 clones tried to rush Jiraiya but were cut off by the fork of Gamaken. The giant toad threw its shield, hitting one of the clones that tried to round him. Using his fork to push off the ground, the giant toad flew into the sky before landing on his shield, crushing and destroying one of the clones. The second clone he was fighting took the opportunity to bite down onto Gamaken's neck, forcing its virus-like chakra into the giant toad's system. Jiraiya heard his summoning scream and abandoned his fight. The Toad Sage leapt through the air and delivered a powerful kick to back of the head of the clone on Gamaken, killing it. The clone Jiraiya was fight came running after, but Gamaken threw his fork at it, nailing it flush, causing it to burst into smoke. Giant Rasengan. Naruto shouted. The original Naruto appeared in the sky above Gamaken and Jiraiya. He was still in his fox shroud form and had a colossal swirling ball of blue chakra in his left hand. The missing Nin dove out of the sky, smashing his jutsu into Gamaken's chest, driving the giant toad into the ground with a spiraling vortex of wind, creating a massive crater in the middle of the forest. After delivering his attack, Naruto landed on the edge of the crater to listen for signs of life. In a small windmill just outside of Konoha, 5 ninja gathered: Sakura, Tenten, Ino, Kiba and Choji. The windmill itself was nothing special, it old and decrepit. It was abandoned for many years, and that showed in its outer appearance. Surprisingly, the inside was very well kept, it was all set for a meeting. There was a large table where the 5 jonin seated themselves waiting for the convener to join them. "This all feels so dodgy to me," Kiba whispered. That's because it is supposed to be dodgy. We're planning a rebellion, dog breath." Tenten mocked. "Hum on, you two, behave yourselves. Danzo-sama is going to join us soon." Choji tried to ease the tension. "Oh, Cho, I like this take charge side of you. It's so manly." Ino flirted. "Ino, enough. He's here." Sakura coughed, getting her friend's attention as Danzo joined them at the table. The old warhawk gazed over at the 5 youngsters in front of him. They were all secretly members of Root but without the curse seals on their tongues. The seals would have given away their true affiliation. Danzo had promised years ago that if they found Sasuke and Naruto, he would protect the Uchiha and extract the Biju from Naruto. Also, the promise of top positions under his reign as the Hokage sweetened the deal. "It's good to see my loyal subordinates still believe in my ideals." Danzo spoke. "Of course, Danzo-sama, you are a true ninja of Konoha. You put the safety of the village ahead of your own, unlike the current Hokage." Tenten praised. "Thank you, Captain Tenten. You were all present at the meeting where that bitch refused my offer to assist her. Her foolishness will be the downfall of Konoha. We must act fast. If everything goes according to plan, no blood will be shed and a new Hokage will take charge." Danzo bellowed. "Danzo-sama, please let us know what we can do to ensure Sasuke has a home to return to." Sakura offered. "We are willing to do anything to ensure our love can return to Konoha." Ino begged. "I'm glad to hear you say that. I have jobs only you can do. In 13 days on the night of the red moon we will carry out our coup d'etat. If you two perform your jobs, we will not have to worry about civil war. Ino, you will kill Shizune and make it look like she committed suicide after seeing the overdosed Hokage." Danzo tried and failed to hold back laughter. "Overdosed Hokage?" Sakura said, confused. "That will be your job. You are to eliminate Tsunade and use your medical ninjutsu to make it look like she died of alcohol poisoning. It's not a far stretch, everyone knows she drinks. It would be almost a poetic way for her to die. Once you two complete your missions, it will be time to eliminate the top 10 jonin. Then I will be the only choice for Hokage." Danzo explained. "Are you for real? The village will get suspicious if so many people die at once." Kiba barked. I apologize for Kiba's tone, but he is right. So many deaths would be suspicious. Choji spoke up. "We only have the support of half the ninja in the village. Civil war would cripple us and leave us completely vulnerable to other ninja villages." Tenten added. "No, it won't. The other villages won't know what happened. The night we kill the Hokage it will all happen." Danzo continued. "What does that mean?" Sakura asked, her voice filled with panic. "It is simple, my dear. We have spies in every clan in the village. Once the Hokage dies we will launch the execution order and kill the top 10 jonin. If a clan decides to side with the deceased Tsunade, our spies are instructed to kill all those who oppose me." Danzo's words were cold and emotionless. "No way, that would be a massacre." Ino cried out. "No, my dear, that is the only way to ensure peace." Danzo then asked them to leave, saying he needed to be alone with his thoughts. Once he was sure he was alone, he motioned for 2 figures to emerge from the shadows. They were just as old as him. "Are you sure they are up for it?" Kaharu asked. "Well, even if they fail I have a backup plan." Danzo smirked. "This plan has been 8 years in the making. I've paid with so much blood. Your blood payment started the day you killed those Anbu and framed Naruto." Homura spat. Naruto peered into the hole. A large cloud of smoke had recently disappeared, indicating that Gamaken had left. The Jinchuriki could hear the sound of Jiraiya climbing out, as well sense his incredible increase in power. Naruto licked his lips at the prospect of fighting a ninja who could match him. The toad sage sprung out of the hole and landed on the other side, looking directing at Naruto. Jiraiya had a small toad now attached to each shoulder, one was clearly female and the other male. "Naruto, I'd like you to meet Shima-sama." Jiraiya gestured to the female toad. "And Fukasaku." He then gestured to the male. "Look at your face, old man. You look like a toad." Naruto laughed. Jiraiya's eyes were those of a toad and his nose was much larger and covered in warts. "Lad. Why do you always summon us in these kinds of situations?" Shima complained. "Give him a break, ma. Jiraiya boy must have a reason for summoning us like this." Fukasaku defended his former student. "It's been so long since I've had to summon you too. I'm truly sorry for the circumstances." Jiraiya apologized. "I thought you hated this form, boy. You said it caused you to lose favor with the ladies." Fukasaku questioned. "I can't be too picky now. The foe we face is like no other." Jiraiya said as he pointed to Naruto. He has 2 Kekkei Genkai, Sharingan and Crystal Release, and he is also the 9 Tails Jinchuriki. Sync yourselves with my mind to find out the rest. An opponent so powerful cannot be true. Shima shouted. No ma, Jiraiya boy is right. I can sense the chakra of the fox and well as see his evil eyes. Look at his arm, there is a crystal blade around it. Fukasaku spoke. Jiraiya leaped across the crater and landed on Naruto's side with force, sending shockwaves through the ground. Hey you, the boy with the red chakra. Shima shouted. Weren't you one of Jiraiya boy's students? Fukasaku completed his wife's thought. I see this is the legendary sage mode. You are going to increase your strength by taking in nature chakra. Naruto laughed. It's kind of pathetic that you need help from those frogs to achieve this. The 2 elder toads were fuming at Naruto's comment, but Jiraiya mentally calmed them down. You turned out to be a herald of ruin. So as your mentor it is my duty to take you down. Jiraiya announced. As the toad sage finished his last word, Shima opened her mouth and fired her tongue at Naruto. The toad's long tongue wrapped itself around the Jinchuriki tightly but couldn't break through the shroud of chakra. The tongue then developed dozens of pores and released liquid poison all over the fox's chakra. Once the poison was absorbed by the chakra, Fukasaku inhaled deeply before firing a jet of water from his mouth. The jet of water hit the ground near Naruto, blasting through. Shima released her tongue and Fukasaku turned his head, hitting Naruto with the jet of water. The powerful jet of water shattered Naruto into thousands of crystal fragments. The substitution jutsu. Jiraiya noted as he turned around to face the real Naruto. That was very good. You didn't even need a Sharingan to notice. Naruto mocked his former sensei. This brat has no respect for his elders. Boy, you bring the oil, pa you supply the wind, and I'll bring the fire. Shima shouted. All 3 of them inhaled deeply. Sage art. Bath of boiling oil. Shima released a stream of fire, Jiraiya a stream of toad oil, and Fukasaku a jet of wind. The oil hit the ground and turned into a massive wave, while the wind stoked the fire, growing it. As the wave of oil and fire traveled to Naruto, a rift in space in the form of a vortex appeared. The bath of boiling oil was sucked into the vortex. After his attack was completely gone, Jiraiya stared at Naruto and noticed that the 3 Tomo in each eye merged together to form a 6-pointed circular star. Hamui, do you like it? It's a Dojutsu released from Mangekyo Sharingan that allows one to transfer anything to another dimension. In this case your sage art. Bath of boiling oil. Naruto explained as his eyes returned to the original Sharingan form. Amazing, you have awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan in your transplanted eyes. Jiraiya thought out loud. It's not really amazing. Sasuke awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan before I got the eyes from him. All I can do is use the 9 Tails chakra to amplify and awaken all the Sharingan Dojutsu. Naruto admitted. Itachi Nai-san has taught me all the Dojutsu of the Uchiha clan. Jiraiya boy, the situation is worse than I thought. If he is indeed using the power of the demon fox to supplement his Sharingan, we need to attack him with the intention of killing. Fukasaku whispered to the toad sage. I can hear you. Naruto waved. The fox's chakra shroud magnifies all my sense. Naruto, you were never one for revenge, why do you want to destroy Konoha? Jiraiya pleaded with his former student. I have to do this. I have to fulfill Sasuke's dying wish. I have to avenge the Uchiha clan for him. Naruto stated coldly. What do you mean avenge the Uchiha? It was Itachi who killed them and you call him Nai-san. Jiraiya asked dumbfounded. And they call you the greatest spy of Konoha. It was the 3rd Hokage and his council that ordered Itachi to wipe out the Uchiha clan. They feared that a civil war would soon be coming. Danzo, he planted the idea in the old bastard's head. Naruto spat. That can't be true. The 3rd Hokage would never order such a thing. Jiraiya defended the honor of his sensei. Believe what you want but my eyes see all truths. Naruto smirked as he crouched down on all 4s. I see you can't be veered from your path of vengeance. Let's see how you handle close-range combat. Jiraiya crouched down on all 4s like Naruto. The toad sage kicked of his shoes as he drew in more nature chakra, causing his hands and feet to become more toad-like. The Sannin used his boosted speed to round Naruto in a split second and deliver a punch. To Jiraiya's astonishment, Naruto followed his movement perfectly and turned in sync with him, deflecting the sage mode punch as if was nothing. Those eyes are truly demonic. Fukasaku mumbled. Naruto cringed at the Toad Elder's statement before unleashing a barrage of swipes at Jiraiya. The Sannin had to use his full strength to block of the attacks Naruto threw at him, but even with all his blocking, he was still taking damage from making contact with the red chakra. Shima saw this and threw a smoke bomb onto the ground. Naruto jumped out of the smoke, leaving Jiraiya inside alone. Naruto followed the movement of a figure emerging from the smoke. He looked up and spotted a decoy toad. Sage art. Kabari Senbon. Jiraiya shouted. The toad sage's hair turned hard as steel and it began firing needles promptly from inside the smoke at Naruto. The missing nin stood his ground and absorbed the onslaught of chakra-reinforced hair. When the smoke cleared, Jiraiya looked in disbelief. His attack had failed to penetrate the fox's cloak. The needles were falling off as if they were paper. I believe that was your fastest jutsu with the widest attack range. Naruto laughed. How did he know that? Did you teach him that? Fukasaku asked, to which Jiraiya answered no. Just like the pervy sage, I too have my spies. I have spies in every ninja village, including Konoha. Naruto explained. There's no way your spies could have entered Konoha undetected. Jiraiya tried to brush off Naruto's claims. I never said I sent in spies. My spies consist of both citizens and ninja. Naruto continued. Tell me, Naruto. A year after you left, you cancelled your toad summoning contract without any of the toads knowing how you did it. Jiraiya's question was interrupted by Naruto's answer. I summoned Gamma something and Sasuke's Jinjutsu to have him cancel the contract on my behalf and then forget it. Jiraiya just stared at Naruto, doing his best not to look into the Sharingan. Thoughts that he was in a Jinjutsu already began to creep in, but he had Shima and Fukasaku with him. Naruto couldn't have planted those ideas into a Jinjutsu. Jiraiya boy, between the Sharingan and Fox's chakra we are at a huge disadvantage. I suggest we make a strategic withdrawal. Fukasaku suggested. Don't sugarcoat it, Pa, we have to retreat. Shima hissed. Jiraiya nodded and with that began to run through the thick forest on all fours, using his sage mood to increase his speed. Naruto sighed before giving chase on all fours. Have you ever seen a fox hunt a toad? It isn't pretty. Naruto shouted as he caught up. Naruto allowed Jiraiya to keep his slender lead, toying with the Sannin. The fox shroud will protect against all ninjutsu and taijutsu. We have to go with Jinjutsu. Jiraiya whispered as soft as he could but was still audible. We have the perfect Jinjutsu. It attacks the auditory senses, and with Naruto's enhanced hearing our duet will be twice as effective. Shima noted. Jiraiya stopped on a treetop, causing Naruto to stop on an opposing treetop to see what his former sensei had in store for. Jiraiya just stood still as the two elder toads inhaled deeply and began croaking loudly. Naruto laughed as he listened to croaking. His laughter died abruptly along with his chakra shroud as he fell from the tree and landed on his back. We did it. Shima shouted as Jiraiya jumped down and landed over Naruto. Now Jiraiya, you have to deliver the finishing strike. He is truly one with the darkness of the fox. Fukasaku spoke. Jiraiya held out his right hand and formed a spiraling ball of chakra in his palm. The Sannin held the jutsu as he looked down at his former student. I'm sorry, Minato, I failed your son. Jiraiya slammed the Rasengan into Naruto's chest. The swirling force of the jutsu burned into Naruto's flak jacket, causing the material to blend together in a spiral. As he pushed harder, Naruto's body turned to crystal and shattered. Another crystal substitution, he is truly making good use of his Kekkei Genkai. Fukasaku noted. Such high praise from an elder, I should be honored. Naruto said, emerging directly behind Jiraiya, still covered in the fox's shroud. How didn't I sense him? I'm in sage mode and he's covered in that demonic chakra. Jiraiya questioned himself. Naruto grabbed on Jiraiya's right arm and dug his claws into it, causing his chakra to seep into it. Jiraiya tried to free him himself, but Naruto's grip was too strong. The Sannin used all his strength in a single kick to the missing nin. The kick wasn't to hurt Naruto, but to give himself enough trust to escape. It worked and Jiraiya flew through the air, landing 200 yards away from Naruto. Jiraiya boy, your right arm. Fukasaku shouted, referring to the fact that the Sannin's right arm was missing from the elbow down as blood flowed out of the empty sleeve. I know. I used that arm to grope his girlfriend. I didn't really think he was serious when he said he would take it. Jiraiya tried to smile. Oh, I was deadly serious. Naruto shouted as he used the red chakra of the nine tails to burn Jiraiya's arm until it was completely gone. Fukasaku-sama, Shima-sama, please do me one last favor. Return home and then travel to Konoha. Warn Tsunade about Naruto's power and tell her he is coming to destroy them. Also tell her that I love her and I am truly sorry I could not live up to my promise. Jiraiya made his last request as the two Toad elders argued with him. I'm not going to let you leave. Naruto shouted as his eyes formed back into the Mangekyo Sharingan pattern. Taking this as a cue, both the elder toads disappeared in small clouds of smoke. Damn it. I guess that leaves you and me. Naruto smiled as his Sharingan returned to normal. I apologize for failing you as a teacher. Jiraiya said as he poured all the nature chakra he had left into one last Rasengan. Naruto held out his left hand and gathered a large amount of lightning chakra. The chakra sparked, giving off the sound of birds. Chidori. 1,000 birds. Rasengan. Both ninja ran at each other and thrust their jutsu forward. The collision caused a massive explosion. As the dust settled from the two attacks, Jiraiya was laying face down in large crater. Standing over him was Naruto, who was no longer in fox shroud mode and had a large crystal spear in his hand. The missing nin jabbed his crystal spear downwards at Jiraiya but stopped millimeters away from penetrating his back. The spear in his hand were trembling. Letting out a defeated sigh, the spear shattered into dust. Naruto waved his right hand over Jiraiya. Crystal art. Healing coffin. A coffin made of crystal encased the Sanin's body. Naruto traced his hands over the crystal coffin, creating chakra threads that allowed him to drag it as he walked out of the forest. Tsunade sat at her desk in the Hokage's office. Her hands were clasped together and her head bowed. There was a look of worry on her face. Something had gotten her feeling uneasy. "Shizune, I'm having the strangest sensation." The Hokage spoke to her assistant. "I know Tsunade's same. I haven't had a boyfriend in ages." Shizune confessed until she realized the Hokage was talking about something else which left her red-faced. "I mean, it's almost like a sense of forewarning about impending disaster. The night of the red moon is approaching." Tsunade admitted. "One of the darkest days in Konoha history, the night Itachi Uchiha slaughtered his clan." Shizune remembered. "You don't think he's planning to return to Konoha?" "No, I'm not worried about Itachi. I'm more concerned about an inside threat." Tsunade confided. "You're worried about Danzo. I don't trust that old geezer. He always looks like he's up to something. I reviewed his medical file from after his fight with the third Hokage. He didn't suffer any serious injuries that would require him needing those bandages for all these years. He is hiding something." "I believe you're right, Shizune. I too went over his medical records. The third Hokage was very forgiving in their fight, he left Danzo with minor cuts and bruises. I've had both Niji and Hinata try to see under those bandages, but he has a seal preventing the Byakugan from seeing through." As the two stood about what could be under the bandages, there came a knock on the doors of the office. "Tsunade-sama, it's me, Sakura and Ino. We have the report from the hospital." "Oh great, just what I needed." Two pin-up dolls that couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. Tsunade mumbled. "That's because you didn't want to teach them Taijutsu because of what they said about Naruto." Shizune whispered before going to open the doors. Sakura and Ino walked into the Hokage's office and stood up straight in front of the desk. Although they were once Tsunade's students, they still felt slightly uneasy near the Hokage. Thoughts of Danzo's orders were fresh in their minds. They were still adjusting their psyches to the task they were going to have to perform. "Ahem, the reports." Tsunade said, snapping Ino and Sakura out of their state of mind. "Sorry, Hokage-sama. This week there are no critical injuries in the hospital. Mostly we have people coming in with colds and flus. These cases can be attributed to the seasonal change. According to inventory records, we're running low on medical herbs." Sakura explained. "The hospital's budget is in disarray. We've taken on more civilian patients than was budgeted for. Hospital meals are getting more expensive. Medical supplies that are being shipped in from the east are expected to increase in price in the next few months. Our suppliers from the west have decreased price but also quality." Ino took over. Tsunade sighed heavily. "Sakura, I'm putting you in charge of a mission." The pink-haired ninja tried to hide a smile. Even though she was a jonin, she was never in charge of a mission before. She saw it as a way for Tsunade to punish her for her treatment of Naruto. It was one of the reasons she sided with Danzo aside from the Sasuke issue. "You are to take a team consisting of Kiba, Tenten and Ino and gathered the medical herbs the hospital requires. You have today to prepare, you will leave tomorrow." Tsunade continued. Sakura was a bit disappointed, but she was going to be captain for the first time. "I won't disappoint you, Hokage-sama." Team Guy and Team Lee arrived at the Great Naruto Bridge. After non-stop running, they stopped to catch their breath for a few minutes before continuing. "Defensive positions now." Guy shouted. Lee and the Anbu all took up positions and formed a defensive line around the trackers. Niji nodded to his cousin and she nodded back. The two of them activated their Kekkei Genkai, causing the veins around their eyes to pop. "Niji, are you seeing this?" Hinata blurted out, stunned. "Yes, this is impossible." Niji responded, flabbergasted. "What is it?" Shino wanted to know. "Tell us what you see." Guy asked as well. "It's the bridge, I don't know how to explain it. It's massive." Hinata tried to explain. "I know it's a big bridge, but do you see any markers?" Lee questioned. "She's not talking about the bridge itself. She's talking about the marker. The bridge is the marker." Niji explained. "How is that even possible?" Guy shouted. "The entire bridge is covered in the same writing that was on the fourth Hokage's special dagger. It's the exact same thing as the sample you showed us. It must have taken hours to do this." Niji was in awe as he tried to count the number of markers. "It's simply amazing, each marker has a tiny bit of chakra in it. Combined, I'd say this is twice as much chakra than Guy-sensei possesses." Hinata followed her cousin's lead and began counting. "The foe who can spare that much chakra and still perform the flying thunder god jutsu, oh Kakashi, what have you gotten yourself into?" Guy cried a stream of anime-style tears. "Guy-sensei, I think it's time we start our search for Kakashi-sensei." Shino wanted to get involved and not be a bystander. "Oh right, Shino my boy." Guy shouted as he pulled out an old worn-out sock from his ninja pouch. "This is Kakashi's lucky sock. He wore it the first time I defeated him." Everyone, even the Anbu, fell over at Guy's revelation. Shino warily accepted the sock and allowed his insects to get a taste for Kakashi's chakra and sweat. The bug master released his insects into the air and they began to swarm around trying to get a sense for where the missing Jonin was. Oh insects. Find my friend, I believe he is still alive out there someone. He can't die before we compete in every challenge possible. Guy cried. Naruto dragged himself out of the forest pulling a crystal coffin behind him. He wasn't tired, just disappointed in himself for not being able to kill Jiraiya even though the Toad Sage waited 12 years to appear in his life. Shin-sama. Karen screamed as she ran up to Naruto and wrapped her arms around him. You can go back to calling me Naruto. Jiraiya's summoning got away with my identity. It's just a matter of time before Konoha learns of me. Naruto whispered as he returned the hug. I'm so glad to have you back. I always liked the pre-Sharingan Naruto better. Karen replied looking over at the coffin with Jiraiya in it. Don't get used to it. I'm still going to have my revenge on Konoha. I just need to go to plan B. Damn Shikamaru. Naruto's words were cold. What brought about this change of heart? She asked assertively. They kind of caught on to my plan to force war. I'm going to have to find a new way into Konoha by the night of the red moon. I see you really took his right arm. You're way too protective, how am I going to find a husband this way? She punched him softly, catching him off guard. Naruto shook off a hit and picked her up over his shoulder before jumping on the crystal coffin. He closed his eyes, engulfed them in a yellow light before disappearing. The bright light reappeared in the cave. The crystal coffin made a loud impact noise while Naruto landed gracefully with Karen in his arms. The blonde with black streaks set down the red head before moving Jiraiya's coffin next to Kakashi's but on the floor. So Naruto-sama, now that your brilliant plan has been foiled, what are you going to do? Karen asked loud enough that a resting Itachi could hear. Naruto-sama. Itachi sat up in his futon. He let the old pervert summoning get away with his identity. Karen smiled. She was happy to have Naruto instead of the personality he adopted after killing Orochimaru. So what exactly are you doing? Are you going to beat up all your old friends and place them in crystal coffins to heal in suspended animation? Itachi questioned. I had a backup plan. It involves the Mizukage. Naruto sat on Jiraiya's coffin. Are you seriously going to sit on that? Karen asked, pointing with a stunned look. He was a terrible godfather, at least now he is good for something. Naruto laughed. Did you say Mizukage? Karen shouted as what Naruto said sunk in. I see you still don't like Naruto hanging around with the Mizukage. Just because she's some years older than him doesn't mean Naruto can't have any fun. Itachi teased. You know, I like it a whole lot better when you were the dark brooding type who rarely spoke. Karen stuck her tongue out at the Uchiha. I only have a few years left, I need some fun. Beside, these meds are really something else. Itachi yawned before going back to sleep. I seriously think he takes double doses when we're not around. Naruto smirked. I see you're avoiding the topic. Do you have a thing for the Mizukage? Karen chorused. Don't let Itachi Nai-san mess with your mind. Sure, she's beautiful, but I wouldn't do anything to jeopardize our ultimate goal. Tell you what, you can help out this time. Wow, you're actually going to let me help out? Karen smiled. The redhead ran towards Naruto. The missing nin extended his arms expecting to embrace her, but she ran past him to the chest where Naruto kept his cloaks. She rummaged through looking for an outfit to wear to a meeting with the Mizukage. Naruto sighed heavily before placing Kakashi's coffin on top of Jiraiya's. The Jinchuriki then grabbed Karen from behind, causing her to shout in protest. But the squirming girl on his shoulders, he jumped onto the stacked coffins. Damari, Shikamaru, Anko, Kurenai and Konohamaru had taken a break from traveling and decided to rest at a small tea shop. The potential Kazukiage and her fiancé sat alone at a shaded table while the others sat together. Kurenai was sipping tea while reading a letter her son had written her. She smiled at his mistakes, but the intention and thought was there. It was a Mother's Day card, or was supposed to be one. In the end it ended up a simple note stating how much he loved his mother. Konohamaru had several cups of tea in front of him. He was determined to find his own signature like his former sensei. He liked ramen, but not enough to declare it his all-time favorite. His grandfather had taught him the art brewing tea, and it was his personal mission to taste different teas from different lands. The young Jonin twisted and contorted his face as he tasted the different teas. Anko was busy stuffing her face with several sweets. The tea shop was out of her favorite, so she made up for it by ordering every other sweet on Shikamaru's tab. When she was sure no one was looking at her, she glanced down at her lap and quickly read something before looking up again. It was an old edition of Makeout Paradise she had stolen from Kakashi's apartment a long time ago. She kept it all this time and never read it. What do you think they're talking about? Konohamaru asked. He was tired off and disappointed in the different teas. I bet they are talking about what the honeymoon is going to be like. A ninja honeymoon. I'm no expert on those. You should ask Kurenai, she and Asuma asked for extended leave to take theirs. Anko's words could be barely made out with all the sweets in her mouth. Kurenai blushed as the attention shifted to her. Well, it was like any other honeymoon. Sure it was, and 9 months later you had your first child. Anko teased. Anko? This is not the kind of thing I would like to discuss in front of my nephew. Kurenai exclaimed. La 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 la. Konohamaru sang with his hands against his ears. Asuma was like his father since his real parents died when he was very young and nobody wanted to hear about sex and their parents in the same conversation. At the other table far away from laughing Jonin, Temari and Shikamaru sat. He was holding her hand across the table, slowing running his fingers along the lines on her palms. There were 2 cups of untouched tea on the table. So you're going to be Kazuki-age. How troublesome. Shikamaru sighed. It looks like it. They want to keep the position in the family. Temari answered. They were opposed to our marriage when you were just a jonin, now you're going to be the Kazuki-age. Where does this leave us? He asked dropping his head. Hey shadow boy. She reached across the table and picked his head up by his chin. I'm going to be Kazuki-age, they are going to have to listen to me. Besides they can't argue against a marriage between the Kazuki-age and Konoha's jonin commander, at least future commander. Deep in Kurigakure territory was a large fortress surrounded by ninja. Inside the fort was a large chamber used by the 5th Mizukage. Alone in the chamber she sat behind a big desk signing documents. Mei Terumi, the 5th Mizukage, was a slender woman in her 30s. She had ankle-length, auburn hair styled into a herringbone pattern at the back with a top knot tied using a dark blue band and with 4 bangs at the front. 2 bangs were short, with one covering her right eye and the other 2 were long, crossing each other on her large chest, just below her chin. Her light green eyes were fixed on the papers in front of her. She wore a long-sleeved dark blue dress that fell just below the knees and high-heeled sandals and shin guards reaching up over her knees. As she signed her last document a bright yellow light flashed in the middle of her chamber. When the light faded it revealed Naruto with Karen on his shoulder standing on 2 crystal coffins. Well, if it isn't my favorite missing nin bounty hunter. Mei smiled. I'm glad to see you've gotten rid of Shin. He outlived his usefulness. Naruto replied jumping of the coffins and letting Karen get back to her feet. This was the first time Karen had seen the Mizukage. She had hoped Itachi's descriptions were exaggerated. For a woman of her age, Mei was quite the looker. Karen didn't like how often Naruto had to meet with the Mizukage. But it was the only way for them to live. Naruto was a missing nin, and cashing in bounties in person could turn nasty. To avoid that Naruto teamed up with Mei, she would have her ninja cash in the bounty. Then she would give Naruto half the money and she would funnel the other half into Kiri's economy. Are those new bounties? Mei asked as she stared at the coffins. No, they are our ticket to destroying Konoha. Naruto waved showing of the Jonin and Sannin. What happened to your plan involving Suna? Mei questioned remembering how much she liked the original plan. Kanoha caught on. It had to be Shikamaru who figured it out. Naruto answered. Those damn Nara. Mei cursed. I take it you have a new plan. Of course, plan B. In these crystal healing coffins are Jiraiya and Kakashi of Konoha. Naruto explained. The old pervert. Karen laughed under her breath. Mei heard the comment and chuckled. So you had a run-in with the Toad Sage. His pervert antics almost caused a war between Kiri and Konoha. In fact he started the bad blood between our villages. I want you to have peace talks with Konoha. Naruto spoke up. The Mizukage gave the Jinchuriki a blank look. You don't have to mean it. You say that you intercepted a bounty hunter trying to move these Konoha ninja. You rescued them to use as bargaining chips. You asked to have the peace talks in Konoha in 10 days and you leave dissatisfied on the night of the red moon. Naruto continued. I don't see the point. Mei asked perplexed. She was one of the few people who knew what the night of the red moon was outside Konoha. Karen and I will be part of your escort but when you leave only Karen will return with you. I will stay behind and break down the village that night to the point Kiri would have no trouble conquering it the next day. Naruto smirked at the completion of his plan. You want to fight the entire village by yourself? Karen shouted her voice was filled with panic and anger. That is a suicide mission. I'm in. Konoha has been on top for too long, Kiri will rise to power once Konoha has been destroyed. Mei smiled. I'll send word to Konoha immediately. Oh and one more thing Mizukage-sama. During my fight with Jiraiya he summoned the Toad Elders and they do know about me and will most likely relay that information to Konoha. Naruto added half-heartedly. Mizukage-sama I know Naruto-sama is strong, but one man against an entire ninja village is madness. Karen pleaded before turning to Naruto. Even with all your power you still have a human body. Wow kid, you sure care about Naruto. Let me tell you something, Naruto Uzumaki is the Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed fox. The most powerful of all Biju. Once he unleashes that power there will be no force that can stop him. Mei assured Karen. It was midday and Tsunade decided that she should check in at the office. She hadn't been able to sleep the previous night after her conversation with Shizune about Danzo. Yawning she reached her office door to find Sakura exiting. Aren't you supposed to be on a mission? Tsunade questioned her once pupil. We were ready to leave when Shizune called me the office and told me to find you. Sakura explained, slightly flustered. Tsunade brushed past a pink-haired girl and into the Hokage's office. The Hokage made a dash straight for chair and sat her desk. After her tunnel vision faded, she realized they had guests. There were two toads. One was shaped like a throne and the other was small and wearing a cloak while sitting on the first. Squinting her eyes, the Hokage finally remembered who the toad was. Elder Toad Fukasaku. Tsunade greeted as the name finally came to her mind. "Ah, Tsunade, you look younger than the last time I saw you." Fukasaku tried to hide the pain in his voice. The toad motioned to Sakura to close the door and the pink-haired girl did so but stayed in the room. "Let me start off by saying that Jiraiya said to tell you he loves you and is truly sorry he could not live up to his promise." The elder toad did his best not to show any emotion. At these words, Tsunade's fingers dug into the wooden desk, sending cracks through it. "Tell me Jiraiya going to pop up later when I'm in the hot springs and this is just a bad joke on his half." Tsunade's eyes betrayed the facade she had up. "I'm not sure how to say this, but Jiraiya boy has fallen in battle." Fukasaku croaked. An almost unnatural silence followed. No one dare say anything as the Hokage's body trembled. The silence was ended by the sound of the desk being ripped apart. Jiraiya boy was following a lead he had on the bounty hunter that took Kakashi. The lead took him to the land of rivers where he had an unexpected run-in with the bounty hunter. Fukasaku began explaining, having everyone's attention. The land of rivers has weak border security, making it the perfect place for bounty hunters to cash in. Shizune pointed out. The bounty hunter was a former student of Jiraiya boys and a former Konoha ninja. His name is Naruto Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox. Fukasaku continued. Naruto Uzumaki. Sakura's voice trailed off. "You must be mistaken. Naruto may be a Jinchuriki, but he would never be able to defeat someone like Jiraiya. Naruto would never hurt Jiraiya or Kakashi." Shizune shouted while Tsunade was still lost for words. It was Naruto Uzumaki. Jiraiya was convinced it was his former student. The Jinchuriki processed the Sharingan. Eyes given to him by Sasuke Uchiha on his deathbed. He was trained in the art of the Sharingan by Itachi Uchiha. The Toad Elder purposely held back the information about Konoha ordering the extermination of the Uchiha clan. The words from the Elder Toad caused Sakura to fall over. Her precious Sasuke was dead and Naruto, the demon who she blamed for the death of her love, was now walking around with his Sharingan. Naruto's power is well beyond that. He also has the crystal release Kekkei Genkai as well as absolute control of his Biju. Fukasaku added. The chakra the fox gives off has the power to burn to flesh. His crystal release makes it almost impossible to land a killer hit. Those eyes are truly demonic for they have evolved to the Mangekyo Sharingan. He is also the one who killed Orochimaru. I can't believe Naruto would kill Jiraiya. Tsunade finally spoke up. I am sorry Tsunade, I know how much you loved the boy. I sensed it firsthand. His heart has been completely taken over by hatred and the desire for revenge. He has vowed to bring down Konoha. Apparently he has spies in the village. The Elder Toad tried to make what he had to say as painless as possible. Shizune, get an alert out to all our ninja and to Suna. Tsunade announced while fighting back tears. Sasuke Uchiha is dead and Naruto Uzumaki is now an S-rank missing nin. Tsunade-sama, are you sure? Shizune asked with tears flowing down her face. The Hokage just nodded to her assistant. Shizune left the room crying. She passed by Sakura, who was still sitting on the floor with eyes bloodshot from crying. The medical nin picked herself up and ran out of room to search for Ino. Tsunade sat in her chair alone with her thoughts. The room around could have collapsed and she wouldn't notice it. Jiraiya, your mission is to find out as much as you can about this bounty hunter. There can be a lot of bounty hunters who wear black cloaks with the kanji for truth on them, should be easy for you. Tsunade's orders to the Toad Sage rang in her head, especially the last 5 words. Images of the young blonde boy who accompanied Jiraiya to find her flooded her mind. The pictures of innocence were slowly being eaten away by the thoughts of the nine-tailed fox. The fox had truly taken over Naruto. She mentally kicked herself for thinking that after all this time, he would still be the same hyperactive boy with a goofy smile. Shizune had begun to spread the word through the Konoha information network. Many people were surprised that Naruto was still alive even with the Akatsuki after him. All over the village people were speaking about how they knew he was a demon. Word was soon spreading that he was coming to destroy Konoha. Panic and fear began gripping both the ninja and civilian population. They weren't prepared for another Biju attack. In his office Danzo sat with his thoughts. Naruto's impending attack on Konoha could be disastrous for him or beneficial, depending on when he attacked. The fact that he was being trained by Itachi Uchiha made the Warhawk more nervous. He knew that when Naruto attacked he was going to go after the Konoha Council, Jonin Elite and Anbu Root. He could get rid of Tsunade during the attack and blame Naruto, but he might get killed in the attack as well. Not knowing when the attack would come was causing problems for Danzo. The night of the Red Moon was approaching and he couldn't afford to leave the town. The rumor mill began its work spreading and contorting the story. One of the rumors said that Naruto's seal had been broken and that the fox was hiding in a mountain, waiting to get its revenge reached the current headmaster